Good morning again, everyone. Sorry, I had to connect to a different Wi-Fi.
Or give them a call, 954-906-5983, 954-906-5983, and make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show.
You are listening to South.
Welcome, everyone. Make sure you subscribe if you're not subscribed.
The Steve Kane Show. To call the show toll free, dial 1-888-GO-KANE 1. That's 1-888-GO-KANE.
All right. Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. On the radio since 1977. That's what makes us the longest running radio show in the state of Florida. We broadcast live from 6 until 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with overnight rebroadcast midnight till 6 a.m. 7 nights a week. Monday through Friday, the Steve Kane Show is on the air midnight till 9 a.m. I know, is that amazing? Midnight till 9 a.m. weekdays, midnight till 6 weekends, and we broadcast live on the radio on AM 1470, 95.3 FM, 96.9 FM, and 103.9 on the FM dial. You can also listen to us on the iHeart Radio app and the TuneIn app, searching for us by our station call letters WWNN, 2 W's, 2 N's, and watch us live stream in high definition on YouTube. Brian Craig on the YouTube. Welcome. So much happening, so much to talk about as we really discover how can we get a haircut? How can we get? Isn't that the big problem facing all of us these days? The lack of haircuts. Although Brett Baer looked like he was getting a haircut when he was on Fox the other day. Well, a lot of things are happening. You know, yesterday here in Broward County, this Broward County sheriff's race is getting so nasty. You know, I remember back in the days of Sheriff Nick Navarro. You know, Steve was good friends with Sheriff Nick, and I was lucky enough to get to know Sheriff Nick Navarro, and he was a good guy, and he was the sheriff that, formed that television show Cops back in the day, and I always loved Sheriff Nick. He was sheriff when I was in high school, and I got to be friends with him, which was really cool. He was controversial, and there was a lot of controversy surrounding Sheriff Nick Navarro, but frankly, I mean, you know, and I know a lot of you remember the Sheriff Nick Navarro days. Sheriff Nick Navarro's scandals were boring compared to what is going on in the sheriff's race right now. And what is in the Sun Sentinel today, following up on Broward County Sheriff Greg Toney, is a textbook example of why good people, don't run for office, why you never get involved in politics, because, you know, what happens? All of a sudden, when you're involved in politics, you could be the greatest guy ever, like Donald Trump. The moment you get involved in politics, that's it. It's over for you. I'll read through some of the stories as the show goes on, but let me just read you some headlines. Now, yesterday's story with Broward County Sheriff Greg Toney, the first African-American sheriff of Democrat-controlled Broward County. He was appointed by Ron DeSantis after Governor DeSantis removed Scott Israel. And now he's running. He's running to be elected this time. And he's a Democrat. I don't know if he was always a Democrat. I don't know what the story is. I don't know too much about Greg Toney. But I do know that the stories coming out of the Broward County Sheriff's race are pretty interesting stuff. I feel bad for the guy. I really feel bad for the guy. Now, yesterday, there was a story from when he was 14 years old in 1993. Oh, my goodness, 1993. And he was involved in a self-defense incident where he shot and killed a man who was trying to kill him and his brother. He shot a man who had a gun pointed at him and his brother and chased him and his brother home. And it was something he had never disclosed. So, the shoot was in self-defense. I'm sure it's something that he's thought about over the years and lived with. I couldn't imagine, as a gun owner. I don't carry a concealed weapon around, but I do own guns, and I've been hunting when I was a kid. I went hunting when I was a young kid with my father, and I feel guilty about that. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to shoot a person in self-defense, and it's a terrible thing. But he never disclosed it, so that's a bit of a controversy. He never disclosed it to anyone throughout his entire law enforcement career, and it was a little odd. when Greg Tony was appointed to replace Sheriff Scott Israel by Ron DeSantis, I thought a couple things were strange. One, he was a Democrat. Two, his most recent job in the police force was as a sergeant. Was it in Coral Springs? I thought it was a big promotion. Yeah, it looks like they didn't vet him, and I'll read through the details of the stories in a bit, but let me read the headlines. This is in the Sun Sentinel newspaper. So yesterday's story was on the self-defense incident when he was 14 years old. These are the headlines today. Racy photos emerge of sheriff in heated political campaign. Well, I can't wait to read that one. I have not read that story yet. So I've just read the headlines. I have not read any of these stories. And the reason I haven't read the stories is I want to experience what is inside these stories with you and the listening audience live. Because I don't know. It says here, racy photos emerge of sheriff in heated political campaign. And they have a picture of Sheriff Greg Tony there. So I'll find out with you what those photos are. Here's the next story. I didn't even know the guy. Governor Ron DeSantis distances himself from Broward Sheriff Gregory Tony, whom he appointed. Well, Gov, I love you, Gov, but before you appoint people to be the sheriff of any county, especially a big important one like Broward, you should know a little bit about them. That's not good. Yeah, when the guy who appointed you says he didn't even know you, I don't even know the guy. That's not good. And here's the next one. Sheriff wouldn't have been hired as a cop if he revealed he killed a man, ex-boss says. Oh my goodness. They've got his ex-boss throwing him under the bus. They've got Governor Ron DeSantis throwing him under the bus. And now there's some story here in the Sun Sentinel about racy photographs. So I'm interested in reading this story on the racy photographs and the rest. But this is a mess. And with all that being said, listen, I feel very sorry for this guy. I don't know too much about him. I know that that Broward County politics is dirtier than Cook County, Chicago politics. I mean, it's a rough town because it's a big, important county, lots of money. The sheriff's position has always been a political controversy because the budget for the Broward County Sheriff's Office is huge. I mean, it's humongous. And it's very powerful political position. In fact, the sheriff of Broward County probably is the most powerful elected official in all of South Florida. And I'm talking about Palm Beach County, every elected official. I'm talking about Broward and even Miami. And, that means I think it's more powerful than any county commissioner. And even our Congress people here from South Florida, he probably has more power and influence over the control, except possibly Marco Rubio as a senator from Miami might have more influence because he's, little Marco has the ear of Republicans in power in Washington. But the sheriff of Broward County historically is the most powerful elected official in all of South Florida. And that's why they've always been controversial since I've been around. And my days in Broward started during the days of Sheriff Nick Navarro. So I'll go through these stories, but man, politics, there are so many good people. There are so many good people who don't get into politics because they see what's happening to Sheriff Greg Tony. They see what's happening to Donald Trump since he came down the escalator. The moment you become a partisan politician, no matter how great and how loved and beloved you were, you're all of these terrible things instantly. Just like that. And they start looking into every incident in your life. And I'm very interested in this racy photograph story in the Sun. And I must tell you, at the Sun Sentinel, it's been a long time since I was interested in something that was written in the South Florida Sun Sentinel. It used to be a good newspaper. I was at 7-Eleven this morning, and I saw today's Sun Sentinel, and it was really sad how thin that newspaper is today. It really is. I miss newspapers. I love newspapers. I loved reading newspapers. And reading online just isn't the same. I mean, it's like books. I'm over the Kindle book. Are you guys over Kindle? I like reading hardcover. I mostly read hardcover. If I can, or paperbacks if I can. I do read Kindle books, but I like to hold a book in my hand. I like to hold a newspaper in my hand. Reading it on the iPad, I don't know. it just isn't the same. I don't think I read with the same attention when I'm reading on the iPad or my iPhone or something. You know, I mean, when newspapers first went online, I thought, wow, this is awesome. This is awesome. And now I miss it. Now, the one thing I don't miss is the price of the newspapers, because the newspapers are like so expensive now. They're no longer a quarter. They're like $3 or $1.50. And you know, that New York Times on Sunday, what is that? Is that $10, $7? I don't know what they charge for that thing. So it's hard to justify the huge prices for newspapers. So I read them online, and these stories in the Sun Sentinel, I'm reading on the online edition, not the print edition. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, you know, but right now, I would say, and I know we have a lot of people that listen to this program that follow Broward County politics, and frankly, since Trump came down the escalator, we haven't really talked about local politics on this show, and we're not going to turn this into a local political show, but this has got all kinds of stuff, right? We got a self-defense shooting, we've got a racial aspect because he's the first black sheriff, and now the racy photographs they're talking about in this headline. I gotta go through it. You know, there's some interest here outside of just those that might be interested in local politics. But I would say the Sun Sentinel has a vested interest, man, in going after Sheriff Greg Tony. I don't know what he did to rub them so much in the wrong way, other than the fact that he was appointed by Ron DeSantis, our great governor, who says he didn't even know the guy. I would say at this point, the sad reality is, you know, this guy Greg Tony's had a great career. I heard a lot of great things when he was appointed about him. He had some private sector jobs. I don't know too much about that, but he seemed like a very well-respected guy. And he gets involved in politics, and then boom, this happens. You know what I mean? They go out. It's total character assassination. Total character assassination. You know, you can't have saintly people run for office. People are going to have a past. And when you write about it in a certain context, I think it may put things that are totally innocent and part of growing up and make it look like a negative. And I gotta give you an example. That story yesterday of him shooting a man in self-defense when he was 14, that's not a negative for a candidate. It's not. If you're a conservative, if you're a Democrat, that's a terrible thing. How did this 14-year-old get hold of the gun? Well, his dad had it at home, thankfully, you know, and all of that. That's not a negative story, but you add to it that he never disclosed it, and now we've got these stories today. Well, when we get back, I'll read through the racy photograph story. Let's find out. I mean, you know what I'm curious about. Again, I've not read the story. I've not skimmed the story. I've only read the headline. I'm very curious to know what these pictures are of. You know, and are they really negative? And are they really even relevant? But the newspapers, they're doing a number on Sheriff Greg Tony. All right, let's take our first break of the day. It's 19 minutes after the hour. If anyone out there here in South Florida has any intel on what's going on in the local political circle so far as the sheriff's race, I would very much like to hear from you. Our number toll-free, 1-888-GO-CANE-1, 888-465-2631. All right, we'll take our break and we'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
You've heard the jingle and seen the commercials, and that's right. You will get the best night's sleep you've ever had with a MyPillow. Have you not gotten your MyPillow yet? Right now is the best time to do it.
That's right, Brian. Hey guys, this is Brian's wife, Kathy, and this is the best time to get a MyPillow. They have amazing deals. Take advantage of them now.
Go to MyPillow.com, click the radio listener link, and you will see all these great deals. Like
There's a lot of trolls because schools are out. Most of the trolls are kids out of school.
Dream Sheets. Buy one set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets and get the second set free.
You gotta love BOGO deals. They're the best, and you can take advantage of so many right now at MyPillow.com.
There's a lot of other deals too. Again, go to MyPillow.com, click on that radio listener link, and you've got to use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout to get these incredible deals. So go right now to MyPillow.com, click the radio listener special. Make sure to use that promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout to take advantage of all of the great deals. You can also order by phone, 1-800-717 1-800-716-4879. Make sure to use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E. 1-800-716-4879.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
If you suffer with diabetes, there's a 25% chance that you'll develop a foot ulcer that can lead to severe health consequences, including amputation. At the sole
Now, the reason I
authority,
haven't
little or no cost,
brought in
you
any
can
Trump
receive
stuff
your
is
very own therapeutic
some other
shoes
people use this
and
studio on the
custom
weekend.
inserts. Medicare recipients are
It's our
entitled
studio, but others
to
have
one
access
pair
to it.
of
The stuff might
quality diabetic
disappear.
shoes and 3 custom inserts.
I have my
Call the
full-size
sole
Trump
authority
flag that I had in the old
today,
studio.
954-597-7060.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
All right, welcome back. And of course, Sunday is Mother's Day. Go to mypillow.com. Use that promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. You heard all these great deals. There are awesome deals right now at mypillow.com. Mom will love all of them, right? The 2 towel set, the MyPillow towel set, the MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Mom will love those. The buy one MyPillow, get one for free. You can have everything shipped directly to Mom. Just use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout. All right, well, let's get to these stories. Here's the first one. Sun Sentinel, oh my goodness. Racy photos emerge of sheriff in heated political campaign. And I can't tell you how bad I feel for this guy that he's going through all this right now. I really do. But here's the story. On the heat, and I'm looking through, I don't see the photographs in this article. I see a photograph of him in the sheriff's uniform, but I don't see any of the photos in the Sun Sentinel News article on their website. Let's find out what the photos are of. I have no idea. I've not read this story. I am reading this story cold to you on the air. On the heels of the revelation that he killed a man in self-defense when he was a teenager, Broward Sheriff Gregory Toney was dealing with a new disclosure Monday. Photos of him at 2 events organized by a promoter for erotic theme events, pool parties, strip and swing club invasions, and group vacations. Now, come on. I've been to, I don't know if I've been to an erotic themed event. I don't know. That's a vague term, but I've been to pool parties. I've been to strip clubs, and I've been to swing clubs. Okay? Now, some of that, the swing club was in the course of my job, okay? But I have been to all of these. Sheriff Toney, who was not in office when the pictures were taken, is in a heated high-profile race for sheriff, seeking election for the first time this August. His supporters say he has become the target of people playing dirty politics. No doubt about that, Sheriff, with more details about him becoming public in recent days. The photos obtained by the South Florida Sun Sentinel show Toney wearing tight-fitting swim shorts, sunglasses, and a bright smile at events. Now, they don't have the photographs here. They don't have the photographs here. What's wrong with wearing tight-fitting shorts? I mean, I've seen Sheriff Greg Toney. He's in shape. He's in shape, man. He's like, well, he's a cop. He's in shape. He's not, what's wrong with a guy who's in shape wearing tight-fitting clothes? A lot of guys that are in shape wear tight-fitting clothes. Sunglasses and a bright smile. Well, I wear sunglasses and I smile, and you know what? I've been known to wear swim shorts, too. Oh, my goodness. A website with photos of the gatherings say the events took place in August 2015 and April 2016. Photo galleries show a party-like setting with people in bathing suits, including some women who wore pasties instead of a bra. So what? Listen, now I know every guy out there cannot say yes to this, but how many men in this listening audience have been to a pool party or a strip club? Come on. Toney could not be reached for comment. This is the Sun Sentinel, but his campaign issued a statement late Monday accusing former Broward Sheriff Scott Israel of being behind the disclosure of the photos. This is what Toney's campaign says. This is another attempt by Scott Israel to smear Sheriff Toney's name and reputation, the statement read. He tried to depict Sheriff Toney as nothing more than a black kid with a gun, but it backfired because most people see his struggles growing up among violence as an inspirational story of what you can accomplish with hard work and determination no matter where you start. Now, that story yesterday, I don't think this, I will disagree with Sheriff Tony's campaign that they tried to portray him as a black kid with a gun. See, here's the thing. You know, I been around guns my whole life. I owned my first gun when I was 12. All right, my father and grandfather gave me a .410 shotgun to go dove hunting with them when I was a kid. That was my first gun. So I've had guns since I was 12, and there's never been a time in my life where there have not been guns in my life. I've always been around guns. My grandfather was a retired police officer. There were guns. My grandfather had loaded pistols on the kitchen counter and the dining room table. I'm not kidding. He was a police officer for 35 years. He was from Arkansas, and he always had guns too when growing up. But he was paranoid of running into people that he arrested. He would tell me all the time, "Hey, I'm not going to remember them, but they're going to remember me. And when they see me, I'm going to be ready for them." So I've always been around, you know, guns. Now, this story about Tony yesterday with the gun, it wasn't a story to make him look like a black kid with a gun. It was a story to make him look like someone with a gun, okay? And liberals are afraid of guns. They're afraid of guns because they don't know guns. They didn't grow up around guns like I have. You know, when my daughter was old enough, I took her to the gun range. I couldn't wait because I wanted her to be comfortable with a gun and be used to guns and not fear them. Liberals hear a story of someone using a gun in self-defense, and that frightens Democrats. It really does. But anyway, back to the Sun-Sentinel. This is a continuation of the statement from Sheriff Greg Tony's campaign. Now Israel is stooping even lower by releasing pictures that, instead of just attacking the sheriff, include his wife in an attempt to embarrass and slander her. Broward County voters will see past these disgraceful political tactics. Former Sheriff Israel denied having anything to do with the release of the photos. The first time I even heard of these photos was when someone sent me a link to them posted on a political blog. I know nothing about their origin. Now, this story does not have the link or the photograph. So if someone out there knows where these photographs are of Greg Tony, could you please call me, tell me where to go to find them, or send me a link on Twitter or something, because I want to judge them for myself. It doesn't seem he was in tight swim shorts, smiling, wearing sunglasses at a pool party. He had gone to a strip club. Come on. An attorney for Tony's campaign characterized the pictures as private, showing people who are not public figures. The depictions in these photos are of legal activities and are not of public concern, said attorney Natalie Cato. The parties were organized by a group called VIP Bliss, which bills itself as an exclusive private party promoter for the young, fit, and attractive. Its Facebook page says it has been organizing these events since 2003. Membership in Bliss is free, but participants are screened by photos. The group bases membership acceptance on physical attractiveness. Oh boy. Efforts to contact the site's managers through its website and social media pages were unsuccessful Monday. The Sun-Sentinel is not publishing the photos because their copyrighted ownership is unclear. Andrew Pollock, an early supporter who suggested Tony to Governor DeSantis last year as a replacement for Israel, called the photos a private matter being raised in the heat of a political campaign. Tony and Israel are the leading contenders for the Democratic primary for sheriff in August. The winner is almost certain to be elected in November. No laws were broken, Pollock said. These are consenting adults having a good time at a party. What's the big deal? This is shady politics. It's no different than a lot of Halloween parties. Tony has also been feuding with the police unions ever since he suspended the union of the president, Jeff Bell, last month. Now, that was not smart. I got to tell you, Greg Tony, I don't know the particulars of what went on with the union president, but sometimes you got to put up with some garbage from people. I wouldn't have done that. The deputies union took a no-confidence vote, and Bell sued to get his job back. Bell declined to comment Monday because of the ongoing suspension and litigation. All right, so, I mean, this is some nasty stuff. There's more from the governor. I'll get to that when we get back. But I'd like to take some calls on this. And also, the Sun-Sentinel, I think, should have posted the photos blocking out the faces of the other people other than Greg Tony. The fact that they don't have the photographs in the article tells me that they're pretty innocent. They're pretty innocent. And by the way, what kind of coverage did the Sun Sentinel do on Andrew Gillum and those photographs that came out of Andrew Gillum from that hotel room in Miami Beach where the overdose of the gay male prostitute took place, and he was passed out pretty much naked on the floor? All right, it's 6:30 in the morning. If you are on hold, do not go anywhere. If anyone knows what the political blog is, where I can find these pictures the Sun Sentinel doesn't want us to see, please let me know where it is, because I'm thinking the photographs are innocent, really. Just a standard party, just a standard pool party with some good-looking people. And if you see that, you'll say, oh, well, these aren't any big deal. But if you don't show the photographs and you write about them in a colorful way, it gives a different impression. All right, it's 6:30. Our number, toll-free from anywhere, 1-888-GO-CANE-1. It's actually 6:31. 888-GO-CANE-1, 888-465-2631. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll take that break and we'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
The Siegel Law Group.
Steve Kane Show.
My good friend Barry Siegel. Barry, how are you doing today?
Hey, Chris. Hold on.
Great morning. How are you?
I'm having a great morning and looking forward to our breakfast next week.
Me too, Steve. Always look forward to seeing you. Today I want to talk about a area of your overall estate plan that
I know, I got to see him.
has to deal with your assets. It has to do with important decisions that need to be made during your lifetime, and that deals with your health care documents. That's part of
I'm doing some Googling, but
plan. There are three essential health care documents
Okay.
that are part of the Great Estate Plan. One is your health care surrogate designation, which allows you to
are you kidding me?
those who you give the
Okay, I got one of the pictures here.
important medical decisions for you if you don't have the capacity to do so yourself. Those decisions could include end-of-life decisions such as pulling the plug. The second document is the living will, which is the document, think of it as a memo to your healthcare decision maker as to whether you want to have your plug pulled or not. So if you don't have your mental capacity and you're either have a terminal condition, an end-stage condition, or a persistent vegetative state like that Terry Schiavo had over in that Clearwater case many years ago, then it says you either want the machines keeping you alive, helping you breathe, and the feeding tube and the water tube, or you want those things removed. And then the one that most people don't know about is the HIPAA authorization.
All right, I found some stuff on the pictures.
The HIPAA, that's it, that stands for Health Information Portability and Accountability Act. That came into law in 2003. And so now when you go to the doctor, they want you to sign off that you read their HIPAA policy, and essentially that says that they can share your medical information with other medical providers, but not with anyone else. But with your HIPAA document in your estate planning, it says the medical provider not to share your medical information with anyone except for the people you list on that document, such as your spouse or your brother, your sister, your parents, your children, or...
I'm looking for the website. It's not giving me the name of the
They can access
website.
your medical information, your records, and speak to the medical providers. Without that, they're trained not to give out that information, and that could be a disaster. So those are the three important healthcare documents that are part of the overall estate plan.
All right, there you have it. If you want to make an appointment with Attorney Barry Siegel, you're going to find him a delight to deal with, very knowledgeable, and he can help you.
Oh man,
solve
I got
it
some details here.
for
Okay.
for something difficult to solve. Call.
Oh,
make
my
an
gosh.
Appointment 1-855. That's toll free, by the way. 1-855.
This says Trump Strong. This shirt.
3782.
Someone's in.
Barry, good talking to you. We'll speak soon. All right.
Okay, Steve.
Take care, my friend. All right.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WWNX.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to go to the phones first, but I found an article that doesn't have the photographs in it, but gives a more detailed description of the photographs even though they haven't shown the photographs either. Oh boy, we'll get to that in just a minute. But let's first talk to Chris. Hey, Chris, good morning. You're on the radio.
Good morning, Brian. Well, wow, this is a huge one. It's a big picture, but you know what? You've already broken it down in 5 really simple pieces that, put it all together with the sheriff's office. I mean, I guess you could start with the fact that you've already broken down that it's a huge, huge position. I mean, responsibility, the budget. I mean, the average person gets that with the budget, all that goes on with being sheriff.
And the sheriff gets to decide. I mean, it's like $1 billion or something crazy, and the sheriff is in charge of that budget, not a county commissioner or any of the cities. It's a big money position. Yeah, it's a lot of power.
Huge.
But I got to tell you, Chris. Before I still cannot find the photographs, but I found an article that gives more details on these photographs, and you might want to reserve your defense or any opinion on him until you hear this part. So I'll let you call back after. But tell me what's on your mind first, and then I'll read the story.
Well, I guess first you have to start with. Well, I start with it being a political year, of course. It is a job that a lot of people want. It's very important. But going back to the hasty decision that really had to be made after the Parkland shooting. It doesn't surprise me that the governor is like, okay, I'm not 100%, behind, the vetting and everything. He does the whole thing. That's fine, because it was hasty. But it had to be done. And you couldn't pick anyone else inside the Broward Sheriff, office, department. There's 2 things they know they didn't want to do because of political climate at the time. If you didn't trust Sheriff Scott.
Yeah, and but they did not. Andrew Pollock is a good guy. I mean, he's one of the parents from Parkland, okay, from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and he's a good man. I don't know Andrew Pollock personally, but I know people who do, and I've seen him on television. He's a good man. He's one of the best, and I would love Andrew Pollock to run for Congress down here in South Florida. He's a good man. He's the kind of guy we need in government. Andrew Pollock was I don't know if it was solely him, but he was at least in part responsible for recommending Sheriff Greg Toney be appointed to replace Scott Israel to the governor. And the governor didn't vet this guy properly. Didn't vet this story that I'm going to share with you in a moment is in the Daily Mail out of the UK, and it gives a lot of details on the photographs without showing the photographs. And Gregory Toney didn't do anything illegal or anything, but if his background were known, I don't think our conservative governor, who was just elected at the time and appointed by that appointed Sheriff Toney, that was backed by President Trump, would have given him the position. And when you're involved, when you are offered a position like this, even though, you kind of got to do some self-vetting, okay? Are these things in my life going to come public? These are the kind of things you got to think about when you accept something like the sheriff did.
Right. Well, I mean, the ball is rolling. It's an election year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you go back to the initial story. 14-year-old, I mean, come on. There is no one, personal or professional, that would get in the way of that. No,
but this is a very, the way this is being released is very smart. Politics, when you're doing something like this, is a marketing campaign. The story yesterday, the self-defense shooting, on its own might be controversial because he never disclosed that there was out his life, even though as a 14-year-old there was no crime committed. A judge ruled that it was self-defense. And he was a minor, so the record would have been, it's not like he committed a murder. You know what I mean? It was a self-defense incident. So that in itself is not controversial. But day one, the story is that, and people are like, oh, wow, no one knew about that. And then day 2 are these photographs. It's like a song. There's a beat going on here, and it's a marketing campaign, and it's being done in a very well thought out way. And I would say, again, like the governor, I don't know too much about this guy, other than the things we've read about in the news here lately. I'm not a voter in Broward County. I feel bad for him because these things are coming out, but it's only a matter of time before he drops out of the race. I don't think he'll be able to continue in the race for Broward County Sheriff with this information coming out. I just don't.
That's what I was getting to as the ball being rolling, is to keep the negative now. So you go from that story out of the shooting that wouldn't hold up because that was, anybody can see that. That was fine. And that's not information anyone can get, not even reporters. You're talking a minor, and like you said, FBI, background, none of that came up because there's nothing.
Well, the self-defense shooting isn't on the radar now. That's old news. The photographs today, part of it is when someone's a public elected, well, he's not elected yet, but he's running for office and he holds a bit. When someone holds an office, all of a sudden sex becomes a dirty thing, right? Anything they've done sexually, look at, President Trump, for example. The only thing that President Trump was accused of by Stormy Daniels was that he had consensual sex with her. Now that would be a moral failing and we would be disappointed in him, but she was accusing him of having consensual sex. It wasn't like the Bill Clinton issues with Winnie Broderick and Paula Jones and things like that. It was a consensual thing, which I always found kind of interesting that a woman would come forward and claim that, although Jennifer Flowers did. Jennifer Flowers, when she came forward, was claiming a consensual multi-year love affair and sexual affair with Governor Bill Clinton. So, but when someone is running for office or holds office, sex becomes a dirty thing. It's like, oh my goodness, they have a sex life. Oh my god, this is awful, and you can't be in public office and have a sex. There's a certain tone of that when people hold. The standards for people to hold office, especially those that are Republican, are almost saintly.
And it's that revolving. I used to call it a broken record, but you're right. It's a matter of convenience as to who's doing it. Like, remember when Weir got in all that trouble, but he's a Democrat.
Oh, he wasn't accused of cheating.
Up in New York.
Yeah.
Pictures of his private parts, and it was all over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this after the next break, I'm going to read through the story with Sheriff Greg Toney with the photographs in the Daily Mail. They do not have the photographs. They have descriptions of them. There is nothing in this story that his wife is not involved in. So these are consenting adults and private behavior. So nothing is illegal here, but it's not this way anymore, thankfully so. But many years until not that many years ago, gay men and women could not obtain security clearances from the U.S. government. Do you know why that is? Why couldn't gay men and women get security clearances? Do you know?
Well, there's vulnerability there.
Well, back in that time, it's not that way now, right? I mean, we've evolved. We're in a new era. But the reason in the past that gay men and women couldn't get security clearances with the federal government wasn't homophobia on behalf of the government. I mean, they probably were homophobic, but it wasn't because of that. It's because they believed back in those days that if someone were living a closeted gay lifestyle, because back then people weren't out like they were now, they would be open to blackmail. And there was a security risk with that. And I think if you think back on that, if you're back in the 50s or the 60s, or even the 70s, prior to the Reagan era, in the early 80s, if you were prior to the Ronald Reagan presidency, you were gay, you were probably in the closet, except for some rare instances. You know what I mean? And somebody living a lifestyle like that could be compromised. This Sheriff Toney, everything he did was legal, consenting adults and everything, and everything they're accusing him of. But the fact that he kept it secret makes it seem shady. You know what I mean? Keeping these things secret makes things seem shady that shouldn't. And I got to tell you, I feel very bad for this guy. But I would, I'd cut my losses and, ride it out. I don't know what kind of career he's going to have after this. but he should drop out of the race. And I don't know if he'll be able to get a pension as a sheriff. I don't know if he's been sheriff long enough because he was appointed. I don't know. His future career is something he's got to consider, you know. But I would try, if I were him, to find an exit strategy because they're not going to let him. They're not going to let him win this office. And if he did win in the primary against Sheriff Scott Israel, it would get worse for him. So there's no end in what they're doing right now are just warnings. They're trying to get him to drop out. If he stays in the race, the next step will either be more stories or they'll start doing stories on other people that were at these parties that are in the photographs in question, and then he'll be connected with whatever their background. You know what I mean? They're not going to let this guy successfully become the sheriff of Broward County. They're just not going to let it happen, and it's getting pretty bad.
Initially, I believe he said he wasn't planning on running for the position after the time was up there.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I never heard that.
To do with him being just a sergeant, because that raised our eyebrows at the time. Like, sergeant? Really? That's like entry-level executive position, management, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I thought it was strange. He did have some private company he was with, but I would have thought that, I was hoping when the governor appointed a replacement for Scott Israel, I think the past sheriff, Al Lamberti, would have been a good choice, or a police chief from somewhere, a retired police chief or something from somewhere, appoint them to that position, because there's a lot of those people floating around. I thought it was strange that he picked someone that his last job as a police officer was a sergeant. But I trust Ron DeSantis. Trump trusts Ron DeSantis. He's doing all right. But on this one, Ron DeSantis seems to have blown it a little bit on this particular pick because they didn't vet him properly. And now these things are coming out. All right, hey, appreciate the call. After the break, I'll get into the Daily Mail story. Thanks for the call, Chris. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Indeed it is. On the radio since 1977. Let's take that break. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
Stuck in your home and the dog
I can't find the pictures, so if anybody knows where they're at,
in the late afternoon
get them to me.
Your air conditioner is running more and more and may even run constantly, struggling to keep your home cool and hold the temperature that you have it set on. And in some homes, it can't even keep up, losing the battle. And the temperature in your house climbs and you're hot, humid, and uncomfortable. And to top it all off, your electric bill is about to double or even triple. Here comes summer. The cure is reflective and or blown insulation. Stop the heat gain and cut your electric bill up to 35% off. Act now and get the pandemic special. Our off-season sale. Act now. Save 50% on reflective and or blown insulation and cut your electric bill up to 35%. Call Scott from CutMyKilowatts.com at 954-939-1500. That's 954-939-1500. CutMyKilowatts.com. Put your house in the shade today.
President Trump here. Join Steve Kane and Brian Craig on the Steve Kane Trump 2020 Victory Cruise on board the Celebrity Edge. The cruise will be to celebrate my re-election.
Really, I was 6 when the Steve Kane Show started.
Just like me. And join Steve Kane and Brian Craig on the Steve Kane Trump 2020 Victory Cruise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Join Steve Kane and me, Brian Craig, celebrating the victory of President Trump as we sail December 6th out of Fort Lauderdale on a 7-day Trump 2020 Victory Cruise. First stop, San Juan, Puerto Rico. Second stop, Tortola, British Virgin Islands, and then St. Martin. Call Ian at Cruise and Travel Depot, 561-244-5779, 561-244-5779, and join us celebrating the re-election of President Trump, 561-244-5779.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio.
Welcome back, everyone. Yes. Yeah, the Steve Kane Cruise in December is still on, man. People are still booking, and obviously prices have come down. Those of you that made reservations with us on board and everything, not only have your fares been greatly reduced, they've already been adjusted by Ian. You might want to touch base with Ian about them. But people are still booking. A nice lady booked, a single woman, booked on the cruise yesterday, and she told Ian she cruises all the time, and she cruises alone because she's a single woman. And when she goes on cruises alone, when people find out she's a Trump person, she's totally done. They don't socialize with her. They don't want to have dinner with her, and she's on her own. And she's really looking forward to this cruise, the Trump 2020 Victory Cruise, because it's a group of Trump-loving people, and we're going to have a great time together as we sail through the Caribbean. So listen, if you've already made reservations, call Ian, okay, and touch base with him, because with the great adjustments on the cruise fare is spectacular. We leave December 6th, for a week on the high seas. Give Ian a call, 561-244-5779. And the weather in the Caribbean is spectacular that time of year. 561-244-5779. That's Ian at Cruise and Travel Depot. All right, now let me go through this. This sad story. I mean, I feel guilty even talking and reading it to you, but I think it has to be discussed. So this is back to Sheriff Greg Tony. Here's the story on the photographs themselves. It's in the Daily Mail. Okay, so it says here, a Florida sheriff, that's great, warm in tight boxer briefs alongside his topless wife at swinger parties in Miami, photos seen by the Daily Mail reveal. They're not showing the photographs here, though. Broward County Sheriff Gregory Tony was handpicked by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who now says he didn't know the guy, to lead the agency in early 2019 after it was accused of bungling the emergency response to the Parkland High School shooting in 2018. Tony was photographed. See, these are the descriptions of the photos that they're not showing us. Tony was photographed posing happily in various unsheriff-like situations. Now, keep in mind, this was long before he was sheriff. He was not sheriff when these photos were taken. Tony was photographed posing happily in various unsheriff-like situations, showing off his toned physique and his equally in shape wife, Holly, a registered nurse. The series of 11 snapshots of couple swapping parties in Miami are accessible to the general public on a website that organizes erotic events and shows the 41-year-old hugging his wife from behind with his hands cupping her bare breast. Another photo shows the lawman laughing while lying down as Holly places her face on one side of his muscular chest and an unidentified man places his face on the other side. And yet another picture, the husband and wife are in a foursome posing with another couple. Both women are topless, but their nipples are covered with pasties. Okay. I feel so sorry for these people and the wife. I mean, this is just awful. In another snapshot, the sheriff's wife is kissing another topless woman while cupping her breast into her hands. When approached by the DailyMail.com, Tony refused to confirm or deny the photos were of him and his wife and declined comment. He referred questions to his personal attorney in Tallahassee, Natalie Cato. Cato said, this is the sheriff's attorney, Cato said on Monday morning, I have no mother effing comment. I'm not authorized to give any statement. Oh my goodness. Wow, they teach you that in law school there, Natalie Cato? Oh my goodness. She did, however, appear to confirm the photos were indeed of Tony and his wife, saying whoever is going to use these photos will risk legal action. That's why they're not in any of the publications. His wife and the other people on the photos are not public persons, only he is. So that's why they haven't disclosed them, is because the attorney has told them they can't. She also said the photos were on a members-only website. In an accurate statement, they say in the Daily Mail. The photos were taken in August 2015 and April 2016 at monthly Liquid Bliss parties in a secret location in downtown Miami, only revealed to couples vetted by organizers for their physical appearance. Tony was a sergeant in the Coral Springs Police Department at the time. This is 15 and 16. He was appointed sheriff in January 2019 when the governor suspended Scott Israel, the elected sheriff. And it goes on into some things about Scott Israel. Let me see here. His deputies have turned against him. On April 20th, they cast a vote of no confidence against him. That's the union. Meanwhile, the sex parties Tony and his wife attended were run by local DJ Nathan Bliss, and hundreds of photos of each party, up to 12 a year, are posted on the website. They bill themselves as an organizer of erotic events and the world's premier party organization for bi-sexy women and select couples. To attend, candidates must apply with up to 6 full body shots. G-rated photos are okay, the website reads, and provided height, weight, age, and notes about experience at parties of the genre for each applicant. While not all our members are models, we look for people that are youthful and fit into the South Florida nightclub scene, that take care of themselves, take pride in their fitness and physical appearance, and try to be the best they can be. Once the applicants are approved, they're given the address of the venue for the upcoming party, often a hotel, pool, or a nightclub. Okay, and there's a picture of him and his wife. His wife is a beautiful woman. The website took the sheriff's photos down overnight. I don't comment on a person's private life, says one of the commissioners. Okay, so, come on. I mean, now let me open up the phones to this. Would you destroy a man's career based on what we're seeing here with these parties? Now, they call them swingers parties. We don't know that. We don't know that they're a swinging couple. We don't know that. Now, they might have gone to a wild party. I've been to some wild parties. I got some wild and crazy friends. I do. Haven't been to a wild party in a while, but I've been to some wild parties. And God help me if people start taking video and photographs when I'm intoxicated on some of our cruises, I mean, my goodness. But would you end this man's career over this? Would you end this man's career over this? Another thing to be said is all consensual behavior, nothing illegal here. This is consenting married behavior. Is this a disqualifier for someone to hold public office? Is this a disqualifier for someone to be a police officer? I'd love to hear people's thoughts on this. At 1-888-GO-CANE 1. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call from anywhere. I feel so bad for the sheriff. I feel even worse for his wife. I did not give out the website on the air. I do know the website. I have not given out the website on the air, and I will not. But I will say what I said before the last break. It's only a matter of time before he drops out of the race, and I would recommend that he does. I mean, I know that everything is consensual. Everything was done within the marriage, okay, and all of this. The photographs, the parties. I think maybe we don't know what really was going on at these parties. People go to wild and crazy parties in Miami. This is, I have been to wild and crazy parties when I was younger and single. But I'm not running for the sheriff of Broward County and having been appointed by a Republican in a Democrat town. And when you have, he's not a Republican, he's a Democrat, but he was appointed by a Republican. So when you have that kind of connection to a Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, who is very tight with the president, Donald Trump, and you have a background like this, you know it. So, you have to say to yourself, well, wait a minute, they're asking me to be the sheriff of Broward County. I know that I've been going to these wild and crazy Miami parties. Should I do that? Maybe it's not a good idea for me to do that because they're going to be coming after me when the election comes around. It's certainly naive not to think it would come out, by the political opponents. And, this was a controversial pick because the sheriff of Broward County was removed by the governor, and he's running again. And you know, there's a lot to be said about someone who's a duly elected official being removed from office, and it does not reflect well on our governor that he removed someone who was an elected person and replaced them with someone that they did not vet. Because if they would have vetted him, he wouldn't. Somebody else would have gotten the appointment. Oh boy, I tell you. It's 7:01. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show, on the radio since 1977. Let's take our break for the top of the hour. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
5.3 FM.
What did John say?
6.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
This is Steve Kane. I'm sitting here with my good friend and my attorney, Barry Siegel of the Siegel Law Group. Barry, you offer a service called elder law. And since I'm getting up there in years, I'd like to find out exactly
Steve Kane
what
Show.
it is and when and if
Hey.
I need it.
Sure, Steve. Elder law, think of it as asset protection. Now, as we age and get into our retirement years, the number one concern or threat to our assets is the cost of long-term care. Care either at home, in an assisted living facility, or in a nursing home can be very, very expensive. And it can eat away at your assets. It can even deplete your assets to nothing. Imagine if you lose all your assets, you have to go into a facility and your spouse at home has nothing left. Or you may end up not having any assets left to leave to your loved ones. So with elder law, we are able to look at different government benefits that may be available to you or your spouse, such as Medicaid or veteran benefits. And even if you don't think that you're eligible for these benefits, you'd be surprised. That's what elder law attorneys do, is we help people who may not be eligible at this point become eligible so that they can protect their assets for themselves, their spouse, and their loved ones.
Well, it sounds like a really great idea. I suggest you call my attorney, Barry Siegel, and he will be glad to set up an appointment and explain everything to you in even more detail. His number, toll free, 1-855-FLA-3782. Mention that you heard it on the Steve Kane Show.
Hi, this is George Corey of the Soul Authority. In this time of social distancing and sheltering in place, many people have been forced to neglect their feet. We at the Soul Authority are making it possible for you to still take care of your feet while remaining in your home, as we will send a doctor to your house for all of your podiatric needs. The best part of all is that Medicare pays for this visit. So
Make sure you guys subscribe.
Give the Soul Authority a call today at 954-597-7060. That's 954-597-7060. Don't let social distancing stop you from taking care of your feet. Call the Soul Authority today.
You are listening to South Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. To call the show toll free, dial 1-888.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. Welcome back. It is Tuesday, May the 5th, 2020, and we're talking about these huge stories in the Sun Sentinel about Broward County Sheriff Greg Toney running for election, appointed by Ron DeSantis. If you're just tuning in, you've missed a lot. Quick recap, and we'll go to the phones, but... yesterday morning, big story that when he was 14, he shot a man in self-defense, shot a man dead in self-defense. Today, some stories about very racy photographs of him at some crazy parties down in Miami, and it's not looking good for the sheriff, I must say. All right, Richie the bus driver, oh boy.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. What I'd like to do is talk about Tony and make a comment about opening day of Florida.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's talk about the sheriff first, though.
Yeah. People that don't see Brian's saying we're in Broward County is a Democratic county. True. Broward County is also the biggest city in Broward County is Fort Lauderdale, which is true, right, Broward? Right?
Yeah. I guess so.
All right, you take a look at the Democratic breakdown of Broward County, city by city, you'll find that the city of Fort Lauderdale, the city of Sunrise, the city of Florida Hill, and the city of Hollywood, with not so much black population, but Hispanic population. I'm going into demographics now, okay? That the fact of the matter is that Broward County is not only Democrat, Broward County is turned basically black and Hispanic.
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know about, maybe certain areas. And I'll add another thing, too, to it. There's a huge gay population in Broward County, the Fort Lauderdale, Wilton Manors area. And I got to tell you, if you look at Sheriff Greg Toney and these parties with the sexy people, I mean, I went to the website during the break. I'm not going to give the website out on the radio. These are beautiful people. I mean, these are really good-looking people. Look, well, the women, there's a bisexual component with the women, but it's a heterosexual man with ladies that, are bi-curious or whatever. Richie, if he were gay and he was socializing with his spouse as a gay man at regular parties, would that be a disqualifier? I mean, I don't know. Should he be disqualified from going to these sexy parties?
Not at all. But what I'm trying to tell you, and what I was trying to tell the audience, the reason I'm bringing up black population, all right, and Democrat control, and like Parkland, and what I'm trying to say here is that the Democratic Party, look how they treat black people that try to get power.
I like how, why do you say it that way? Look how they treat black people. A lot of emphasis on the word black, Rich.
Black people vote Democratic for the most part.
Yeah, but this is a Democrat primary. It's a Democrat primary.
Right, because of the white.
Well, what do you think about the Broward County Sheriff Toney? Should any of this be a disqualifier? No.
None of it. But the reason they brought up the shooting, young black men.
You think so? Yeah.
I think that the Democratic Party has the power in Israel, and the Sun Sentinel and all of them are going after a black man, and the black man in Broward County should.
I don't think it's race. It's not racial. There's a lot of racial things. The reason they're going after Sheriff Toney is two reasons. One, and the major one is he was appointed by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, and he's not a part of the political establishment. And I mean, that's why it's not a race thing. I mean, the race card might have been played by the spokesperson for the sheriff. It's not a racial thing. He was appointed by Republican Ron DeSantis. That's why they're going after him.
I don't believe that. I believe the fact that Israel wants his power back.
Well, of course he does, and it was interesting when I think the removal of Scott Israel's questionable. Okay, he was not at the scene of the shooting. I think it was a questionable removal. I mean, the cop that was there that didn't go in, no question, right? Out. The lady captain that showed up and told the people not to go in, out. The Sheriff Scott Israel wasn't there, and I don't think I would have removed an elected official from office for that. Now, I'll tell you, there are some officials with the school that should be out that were involved in passing the buck on the expulsion of that monster. Okay. But removing a duly elected official from office, the last Democrat sheriff that was removed was Sheriff Ken Jenney, and he was involved. He went to jail for some things. So that was when Jeb removed him, there was no question. But removing Scott Israel, I think might have been a little heavy-handed there. I think by Governor Ron DeSantis.
But once again, that was money in Parkland pushed that one. Okay, and big money. You know, when you have big money and you're running for office, that's what.
You say that, but you know, the congressman that represents Parkland is a Democrat, and I don't see them, you know, and at the school board level, I've seen nothing but passing the buck among the school board. If the sheriff had been at the scene, like say the sheriff was in the neighborhood and responded to the shooting, 'cause he used to live in Parkland, he didn't at the time, but say he responded and he behaved like some of the first officers who arrived behaved, then he was as far as I know, he was at his office in downtown Fort Lauderdale when it happened. So I think removing. I'm not a fan of Scott Israel. I mean, I don't support Democrats, okay? But I think removing an elected official like the sheriff was a little heavy-handed. You know, in my opinion.
Yeah, ruffling the feathers in Broward County. And the reason I brought up the race thing is because the blacks in Broward County vote Democratic almost 95%. That's what, and the fact is that they'll go against the power.
Yeah, but Scott Israel's hooked up. I remember the day that he was removed, that same day he gave a press conference out of uniform in a suit. I barely recognized Scott Israel because I'd never seen him in a suit before. He was at one of the black churches out front, had a press conference surrounded by local black leaders. So the black leadership in Broward County is behind Scott Israel. Now, here's the thing about the current sheriff, Greg Toney. They obviously, the governor's people didn't vet him. If they knew about these parties in Miami and the self-defense shooting, they might have overlooked that. But the parties in Miami, do you think Governor Ron DeSantis would have appointed the sheriff if he knew about the parties?
No, they wouldn't have.
Mm-mm.
Also, the governor that ran against DeSantis, the guy that ran against DeSantis, who got caught as a prostitute, they wouldn't have had him running for governor. You know, you got to go into the closet of everybody. People have things in their closet. I'm sorry, he's qualified to be the sheriff. And that's...
Well, okay. Now, everything... See, there's a big difference between Sheriff Toney and... oh, my goodness. Who's the guy that lost for... Gillum. Gillum... Okay. What Sheriff Toney did was legal, consenting adults, and it was done... with his wife, going to parties. And I got to tell you, come on. I mean, how many people, you know, Richie, I think you and your wife would have probably gone to I'm sure you've already been to the website. Yeah, who would turn down going to that party? Yeah, go look it up. But I think you would probably want to go just to look. I mean, these are, you know, beautiful people in Miami. Who wouldn't go, right? Well, before we get to the opening, but, you know, Gillum was had a lot of prior to this being in a room with illegal drugs and a gay male prostitute. When he was running, there was all this talk of this investigation going on about these developers and everything in Tallahassee. There was a lot of illegal things going on when Gillum was mayor, and that's why when he was found in the hotel room with the gay male prostitute ODing, the drugs, he was naked on the floor and all this stuff, it's not even a surprise. What the sheriff of Broward County has done is, with his wife, consensual, nothing illegal. And Gillum, there was all this stuff involving legal issues by these developers in Tallahassee when he was mayor. Nothing the sheriff has done... But nothing the sheriff has done is illegal, and it was all done with his wife, and his wife's pretty good looking too.
Put up to the voters. That's how I feel. And not to say this about Joe. Did you see the news last night about the opening of Florida?
I did, and I saw the governor talking too. Yeah.
Well, here's something that a little ticked me off watching it. Okay, a place in Stewart, a bar, opened up. Okay. And here's what I'm against. Once again, they gave the owner of the place gave the choice to the waitresses whether they wanted to wear gloves and masks. And they were serving the people, and the people were sort of in shock that they had their hands with the plate and they no masks on whatsoever. Now, if that's the way it's going to open, it's not going to work.
Well, it's up to the people who, in my opinion, are dining there. If they, you know. All right, now listen. This morning, now this is somewhat different. I went to 7-Eleven this morning to get coffee. And the woman that checked me out wasn't wearing a mask. There was a barrier, but they walk around the store doing things. There was a barrier, but she had no mask on, not even one like on her chin or anything, you know.
You're in Chipotle, okay, and somebody brings food over to you, and they have no mask with this situation, no gloves. What would you... prior to this, okay, prior to what's going on now, this was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, my wife and I went out and got subs. And the woman making the subs, she was coughing a lot. And this was before all this. So there were no masks or anything. And she was a smoker. You could tell, you know, you could smell it on her. And she had her kid with her who was home from school. And he was playing behind the counter where all the ingredients are and touching things. And we got our subs. We paid for them. We walked out. And we threw them out. And we didn't say anything because we didn't want this single mom to lose her job. You know, so, and we never went back to that sub shop again till this day. So, you know, as an individual, I think people can make the choice. Do they want to go to this bar in Stewart where the waitresses are not wearing protection? It's up to them if they want to eat there or not. You go to Publix and you want to get a rye bread, man, they got those clear plastic gloves on. Not even plastic, whatever the material is. They're clean. In other words, with this kind of situation going on right now, if you're going to open it up, for God's sake, the owner of the place should have made the waitresses at least wear masks. I'm sorry.
Well, it's kind of driving me nuts that, in Stewart, my father-in-law lives in Stewart, so I can go to Stewart and sit down in a restaurant and have a meal and order a drink. I might have to go to Stewart this weekend and have a beer. You know, I mean...
Check out the bar on the beach, because that's where it was.
Yeah, all right. Take care, man. Richie the bus driver. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll take our break and be back. 17 minutes after 7. I'm Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Don't go anywhere.
Dr. Matez, when we talk about charisma, hormone replacement pellet therapy
Steve Kane
brings
Show.
back a lot of things in people, and one of the things I think it brings back is
Hey,
charisma,
Mike, hold on.
because I've met many listeners that are patients of Dr. Matez that I've met before they were patients of Dr. Matez, and I notice a big difference. And one thing I notice is a lot of confidence in guys after they start hormone replacement pellet therapy.
I agree with you 100%, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Get your mojo back. It's really
It
what it is.
changes your life. It changes the way you view the world. You know how I put it once? This was years and years ago. Looking at the world after having the hormone therapy, and you look at the world, and the world is like a Technicolor. And when you give up the hormone therapy, it's like watching the world in black and white. It's just an amazing difference.
That's a fantastic analogy.
Isn't it?
It is.
And it's true. That's a big difference.
It is. As we get older, we both physically and mentally break down, and we tend to get into a very black and white type of existence, a lot of people. Everybody's different. But when you get your hormone levels back and you get that vigor back, you feel good. Suddenly things are very bright and colorful.
And I experience this myself, and I see it on listeners, is I'll see a guy, and he's like, and then I'll see him after he has become a patient of yours and with hormone replacement pellet therapy. He seems like he's standing up strong, confident, 10 feet tall. What is it about hormone replacement pellet therapy?
Hey, guys, make sure you subscribe.
I believe it's because you're putting God's nectar back into the body, basically. God gave us testosterone in particular to give us energy and strength and endurance and muscle mass. It's what makes not just men, it's what makes people. And a lack of it takes all of those things away from you.
So we'll meet with Steve Kane listeners at no charge?
Always.
What is the number they can call to make that appointment?
561-953-5490. 561-953-5490.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for it.
All right, welcome back. And I am a patient of Dr. Matez, and hormone replacement pellet therapy, it works, man. It works, and it works good because, I tell people all the time, you hear us talk about, I used to hear Steve talk about it, and others talk about hormone replacement pellet therapy for years and years and years, and it does everything we all say it does, but when you experience it, it does everything times 10. It's the clarity you have in the world because you get, even me at my age, huge difference in my cognition and my reading comprehension and everything immediately when I started hormone replacement pellet therapy. Give Dr. Matez a call, a completely free consultation for listeners of the Steve Kane Show, 561-953-5490. 561-953-5490, and online, hormonetherapybocaratone.com. All right, let's go back to the phones. You're on the radio. Mike and Boca, good morning.
Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Brian?
All right. Any thoughts on Sheriff Tony with these pool parties?
You know, I got a two-sided coin on that. Like you said, everything was legal. Everything was adult. Everyone was fine. He was not sheriff.
He was with his wife.
I don't have a problem with that. With the shooting that he had, I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is what you said and what I heard about 3 weeks ago when he fired that.
The union president. He suspended a deputy who's the union president. Yeah.
So we know exactly why he did it.
No, I don't know, but I know that wasn't a smart move because, you know, the union's going to be after you.
That right there, I don't like that. Okay. And then the second thing I don't like is Ron needs to nip this in the butt. Did he actually say that he didn't know the guy?
Well, I haven't gotten to that story yet. Let me pull it up and I will read. I haven't read. You know, when I saw these stories, I didn't read them in advance. I'm reading all this cold on the air because I want to experience it with you. You know what I mean? I think it makes for. Okay, here's the. Let me read it to you. This is the Sun Sentinel, and this is on the comments of the governor. Governor Ron DeSantis distanced himself Monday from Gregory Tony, the man he appointed to serve as Broward County Sheriff 16 months ago. DeSantis said he won't be getting involved in a controversy involving revelations that Tony never disclosed he shot and killed a man when he was a teenager more than 25 years ago. Notice how they leave out "and self-defense," right? I mean, come on, you know. They make it sound like he was some street thug that just went and, you know, I mean, that's very dishonest. But anyway, the Republican governor said the shooting never came up in a background check because it was deemed to be self-defense, and he'll leave it to Broward voters to decide who should be sheriff. It's not like he's my sheriff, DeSantis told reporters in Tallahassee. I didn't even know the guy. It was not like he was a political ally of mine. Oh, my goodness. When the guy that hired you, that's devastating.
He's got to clear that thing because, okay, so if I'm the sheriff, and I know you think that's totally legal, I would just stay. I would stay. I would not drop out. I wouldn't drop.
You know, I'll tell you, you know, I haven't, you know, these, you know, when I don't know anything about the sheriff other than what I'm reading, okay? But the moment I saw him, you know the guy is in shape. He's athletic. You see his wife, and his wife is a very attractive woman. She's in shape. You know, it does not surprise me that these two, and he's also a cop. You know, people that are cops, there's a lot of testosterone going on in that. You know, and when people, he was a sergeant just a couple years ago. When someone is a police officer, there's a lot of testosterone, which is what you want in a police officer. You don't want some metrosexual pansy. And it doesn't surprise me that a guy who's a cop, who is in shape and good looking and takes care of himself and has a sexy wife, goes to parties with other hot people in Miami that are barely clothed. I mean, you know, I mean, come on.
Well, if I was the sheriff.
And I don't accept this swinging thing that they're trying to promote. I'm maybe some of it goes on there, but I'm not here. I don't see anything that shows us that is true. You know.
It's a party for adults that are physically in shape, and the companies must be making some kind of profit off it, or if they're only want a certain type of person.
You know, before I was married, I was young. All my friends, when I was young and single, were all people that worked in local media. A lot of them were radio people, and at different big radio stations and stuff. And I've been to some parties. Let me tell you, I've been to some parties. You know, I was a judge on South Beach for a bikini contest that was broadcast on national television. And yeah, and I was sitting next to a woman who was a big supermodel, and the guy next to me owned this big, that's what you do, and I don't want to start going through other things I've been to because it'll sound like I'm bragging, but I'm not gonna, based on this parties that he went to, I'm not gonna. The only problem, he didn't disclose this self-defense incident, which I think is a badge of honor that might have actually led to him getting involved in law enforcement. And I'll tell you this, I bet the parents in Parkland wish that their kids that were totally defenseless had a weapon at their disposal to fight back with, like Greg Tony did when he was 14. So there, now with these parties though and everything, do you think that it was poor judgment on the sheriff for accepting the position, knowing that he was going to these sexy parties in Miami, or not? Or is it no big deal? What do you think?
I don't know. It depends on what kind of pictures they are. I mean, if he was only seen at a dancing or at a pool with his wife,
well,
I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, I've been to South Beach parties, not for a while. I've been to South Beach parties, and they're all good-looking people.
South Beach now, and then there's going to be somebody out with that beach walking.
Well, there's nobody on the beach right now. It's closed down because of coronavirus.
I got one more thing. So last night I celebrated a year ago this month, I was in the hospital for surgery.
Oh, what was the surgery for?
I was in there, believe it or not, for 2 months at Hollywood Memorial. I had a valve, my mitral valve was replaced.
Oh, my goodness.
Childhood defect that was never, I've had it for all these years now.
And you're doing all right now.
Yeah, perfect. So we went, we wanted something, we haven't eaten in a long time. So we took a drive to Wings Plus, the Vanderwood location.
Oh, great.
I met Ryan. I've been at his Cold Springs restaurant for 15, like going on 20 years, but I never actually met the guy, and I knew it was him because he was sitting right near the booth, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, hello." I said, "Are you Brian?" He goes, "Yes, I'm Brian." I said, "Oh, I'm a big Steve King Show fan." He goes, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Well, thank you for coming in."
Yeah, he's a good guy. Brian Walsh over there at Wings Plus is a great guy.
He said, "He's getting old." I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah, well, we're all getting old. Aren't we? We're not getting, well, Yeah, he's a good guy. All right. Well, that's good. Well, thanks for calling, Mike, and I'm glad a year and you're doing well. That's great news, and that's very good to hear. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, this thing with the more, see, what's going on here on the air today, what I made the decision to do was to process all of this with you. These stories that I saw before I left the house this morning. I didn't read any of them. I read them cold on the air because I wanted to experience them with you. And I don't have as much of a hardcore firm position on something as I may normally have because I'm still processing everything that's going on. But based on what we know right now, no big deal. But when you have the newspapers after you and you have the political people after you and you're running for the most powerful position in South Florida politics, you got to really ask yourself, is it worth the fight? Right? Is it worth the fight? I would say probably no, because I don't think he can win it. I really don't. And there's an interesting thing would happen here. Whoever wins this Democrat primary in August is expected to easily win the general election for sheriff in Broward County. And if Scott Israel does win Broward County in November, which I think he would if he were the nominee. The other people that are running, I've never heard of them. What would Governor DeSantis do? If Governor DeSantis removed him, it would be very controversial. But as I was talking earlier, I said that, when, removing an elected official is a pretty controversial thing to do. And it's not something, looking back on it, that might have been the best move, Wouldn't you agree? All right, listen, it's 7:30 in the morning. Let's take our break for the bottom of the hour. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Now, Mike in Boca, he stopped by last night to celebrate his 1 year of health at Wings Plus, the Ramblewood location. The Sample Road location of Wings Plus will be reopening soon, but it is going through a renovation. And I'm not sure what renovations they're doing, but last time I drove by there was about a week ago, and it looked like they were doing a lot of work inside. And the Ramblewood location is open right now for lunch and dinner takeout, the Ramblewood location of Wings Plus. And the food's great. And you see Brian Walsh, he's over there too, just like he always is. They're located at the intersection of University Drive and Ramblewood in Coral Springs. So stop in, order takeout for lunch and dinner, the Ramblewood location of Wings Plus. When the Sample Road location reopens, we will let you know, all right? My name's Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. We'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Hurricane season is right around the corner.
Steve Kane Show.
And predictions are that the 2020 hurricane season will be busier than normal.
Hey, Max.
With 16 named storms predicted, 8 turning into hurricanes, and 4 growing into major hurricanes. That's according to scientists at Colorado State University. That's 3 more named storms and hurricanes, and 2 more major hurricanes than they predicted at this time last year. Do you have the hurricane coverage you need and the coverage you want for your home, condominium, or commercial property? In case a hurricane hits, call Debbie and I.
What do you want me to fix, Patricia?
753-8080. 954-753-8080.
What's the problem? Tell me what the problem is.
No charge, and make sure you have the coverage you want and the coverage you need. Once a hurricane hits, it's too late. Call Debbie at I Will Advisors right now. 954-753-8080. 954-753-8080.
This is Steve
I'm out of
Kane for
focus.
Attorney Barry Siegel. Barry
Let me
did
look at it
a
on my
great job for me and my family when we
iPad.
needed a revocable living
Steve
trust.
Kane
Listen
Show.
to one of our listeners, Ray, talk about his experience with Barry Siegel.
I want to praise Barry Siegel. And one of the
where'd
most
you send it to?
important
Which
things
email?
about sponsors is integrity. You have to
Where are they? Because I can't get that email while I'm on the air right now this moment. Where'd you find them at?
And I was helping her out. She had a trust and everything. She had not revised this trust since 1997. And,
Go to my website, BrianCraigShow.com, and email them to me through there, if you don't mind. BrianCraigShow.
The secretary from South Carolina, the laws are different.
Let me look on my app here.
Information for my sister.
The lens might just be dirty.
You know, almost immediately within a few minutes, Barry himself called me. I asked my
there's a
question
connection
to him,
issue.
and he answered. He was very patient. I was quite a while with him, and talking about a lot of things, and this and that.
Let me. If I lose the feed, I'll restart it. Let me see what Wi-Fi is connected to.
And all of you.
Right now, toll free 1-855-FLA-3782. That's 1-855 toll free FLA-3782. Tell them Steve sent you.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show.
Perfect.
on
Great.
iHeartRadio. Just search for WWN.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Brian Craig here with you. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. We're talking about this crazy story going on with the sheriff of Broward County, taking some calls here. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Brian. Max.
Max in Coral Springs. What's on your mind?
Back to Papa.
Oh, you moved to Pompano?
Same guy, different place.
Would you rather be, honestly, Max from Pompano or Max from Coral Springs? Which gives you better street cred, you think?
Probably the Pompano Beach.
Really? When my grandparents retired to Florida, they moved to Pompano, and it was beautiful where they lived. And I went by a few years ago by their house. It's right down the street from where I'm at, not too far from here, and it looked like a drug den. It used to be a nice place, the street they lived on.
Yeah, there are sections in Pompano that seem to have failed from where they were.
Big time, bigly. Any comment on this controversy with the sheriff?
Oh, absolutely. Number one, he
as a young kid, showed a lot of bravery to protect his family and his household or wherever.
Well, that's not even a controversy. The incident with the self-defense incident, that's not even controversial. What about these parties with the hot, good-looking people?
Okay, first of all, is there anything dishonest or corrupt about it?
Well, dishonest or corrupt. Well, the problem is that the problem with the self-defense incident, he never disclosed it, and I think that's something that is to his credit. That, as I said earlier, may have had a role to play in him becoming a law enforcement professional, and especially when he was appointed after the Parkland shooting. When you see a 14-year-old kid who saved the life of himself and perhaps even his brother by shooting an armed man who was coming after them with a gun, that's something to disclose and to be proud of. So far as these parties, we're going to have to get more information about the parties. I mean, they look like hot parties with sexy people at hotel pools in Miami Beach and people barely clothed and things like this. There's nothing illegal about them, all done within the confines of marriage. But is it smart for an individual to accept an appointment from the governor of the state of Florida for such a high office, knowing that there are photographs of you at these crazy parties?
Well, to accept, I mean, that's personal stuff. I don't know how much that bleeds into his ability to lead the largest sheriff's organization in the country besides L.A.
Well, I'll give you an example. There was about 15 or 20 years ago, there was a raid at a swingers club here in South Florida. And guess what? Pompano. It was in Pompano. Coincidentally, not just because you're on the phone, I remember it was in Pompano. It was on Federal Highway somewhere. Yeah, it used to be a strip club, which I went to once because I don't remember the name of it. I remember it was a strip club because one of my old friends worked as a DJ there, and I used to go there and get free drinks. But anyway, there was a raid at a swingers club, and a couple of people were named in the newspaper. They didn't do anything wrong that were there, that were school teachers. At least one of them was a female, and they were terminated. They were in a swingers club, consenting, adults, nothing illegal. But sometimes when things become public about you, even though they're legal, it can weaken your ability to do your job. There have been some incidents over the years, I haven't seen one of these in a long time, but where I've seen this happen 2 or 3 times, where people are school teachers and it's found out they made an adult film many years ago. And when it comes public that they made an adult film when they were young, they lose their job. Nothing illegal, everything consenting a long time ago. But when it becomes public to the students that they made an adult film or were going to a swingers club, can they effectively do their job as a school teacher? And that's the thinking behind terminating somebody with a background like that. And a similar thing may apply here with the sheriff, not removing him or anything like that. I just don't know if I would put myself and my wife through what he's about to go through, because right now these are just warnings. There's going to be more details.
The level of embarrassment and opprobrium that it creates, it distracts probably. It's a major distraction, and for teachers with the kids around, that could be something, where it's just too distracting maybe to have conducive to a good learning environment.
Well, based on what I'm seeing, listen, I have a pretty boring existence. Okay, I'm a boring married guy. But when I was younger, I went to clubs, and what I'm seeing right now. Now again, we could find out more right after the show at 9. There could be a whole bunch of stuff that comes out. But I remember I used to go. This will tell you how long ago it was. It was a long time ago. But there was a bar in Fort Lauderdale called Baja Beach Club back in the early 90s, and it was a big happening place. Yeah, and how many times was I at a bar or something, and there was a girl in a thong bikini doing Jello shots or something like. So what I'm seeing with the sheriff is at that level, right now. You understand what I mean? At that level. It's not at a level of doing something, that's totally outrageous.
You mentioned the connection
Steve
with
Kane Show.
DeSantis, and it's really more or
Hey.
less an attack on him because he's behind Trump so strongly, and Trump
Yeah.
him. Look at what DeSantis saved us from. Him leading an effective campaign saved us from having a crackhead, meth head, bisexual homo in office.
Okay, come on. Hey, come on. Why would you say that? That last part in particular. Why would that's no, that's not appropriate language, and that's come on. That is, you shouldn't say that. That's just not right. You should know better. The problem with Gillum, the word you said at the end, don't say it again. The problem with Gillum is that you should apologize. The problem with Gillum is there were a lot of questions about when he was mayor, okay? And this incident in Miami, we did get lucky that he didn't win, because that incident in Miami told us a lot about who he was. But what you said, the way you said that is not, that wasn't right. All right, let's take another call. Let's go to Wellington. Wellington, you're on the radio.
Yes, hi, Brian. Good morning. I was a deputy in Broward for 15 years, and when you first fill out the application, if you leave anything out, however small, even if it was a parking ticket 15 or 20 years ago, and there's an investigation and they find out about it, they dismiss you immediately. It's called untruthfulness.
Yeah.
And you can be on the job for a day, or you can be on the job for 20 years. If it's found out, they let you go.
Really, a ticket, a speeding ticket, and you lose your pension?
Yes.
Wow, that's a pretty hard standard.
Anything that you leave out because they figure you're trying to hide something.
Okay, well let's go into the sheriff details. Let's first start with the self-defense shooting when he was 14. He was a minor. There was no crime. Is that something that I think he should have disclosed it? I don't think it was a negative, by the way. But would that have stopped him from becoming a police officer?
That I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Would have to be investigated.
Yeah.
The fact that it was left off of his application, now he's looking at untruthfulness. And as far as the other thing with the party is concerned, with him and his wife, that's conduct unbecoming. Now, who decides what is and what is not conduct unbecoming? That would be the administration itself.
Well, wait a minute. Conduct unbecoming, that's an interesting thing. What about, a lot of police officers, they have these cop groupies, that they, hook up with. Is that conduct unbecoming? Would an officer be discharged for that?
Yes.
Steve Kane Show. Have you seen it happen?
Yep.
Steve Kane Show.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Hey,
But again, it depends on the administration.
Yeah. Now, what do you think, though, about these parties? What do you think about the sheriff in these parties? I mean, I would say the governor screwed up, and his people didn't vet him, okay? And I do stick by, again, I'm no fan of Scott Israel, but removing an elected official like that, I think may have been a little heavy-handed. But even though they did not vet Sheriff Tony, obviously, a lot of times, I've talked about this before, a lot of times conservatives overlook a lot when there's someone who is a minority and they are conservative. Even though Tony's a Democrat, I'm assuming he's a conservative of sorts, and they overlook a lot of things because a lot of Republicans want to have Hispanic and black people and gay people in the political party, and they don't. I mean, look at little Marco Rubio. This guy's not qualified to be dog catcher, and here he is. He's the senior U.S. senator from Florida, and he moved up through the ranks because of Obama and the Democrat Party becoming president. A lot of minority outreach went out to people, and we got like Steele, who was the head of our party for a while, and people like this. They didn't vet the sheriff, or they would have known about both of these things. But he knew about them. Was it smart for the sheriff to accept the appointment, knowing about the hot parties and the incident when he was 14?
No, and that could be ignorance or it could be hubris. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
the man.
Wow. Yeah.
Figures he got away with everything so far. He's going to continue to get away with stuff.
Now, what do you mean get away with? He hasn't committed any crimes.
not Chris.
Yeah.
He filled out the application. He didn't.
Well, wait a minute. He's not a deputy. He's the sheriff, which is a political position that you get elected to, even though he was appointed.
He made it up to the rank of sergeant.
Yeah, in Coral Springs.
Right.
Do you think? Let me ask you this, because I'm only asking you these things because you were BSO for 15 years. Should the sheriff resign or drop out of the race? What do you think?
I would.
You would drop out?
I would have come out, yes, and I would have come forward with all this information prior. Now, as far as the governor is concerned, I think vetting did take place, but they needed somebody in a pinch when they let Israel go, and they vetted the current sheriff as quickly and as efficiently as they could, and they probably missed a few things.
Yeah, it seems like he was vetted by DeSantis as well as Manafort was vetted by President Trump. You know, I mean, it was you know, this thing with the parties, if they would have interviewed people and things, they would have found out about it. You're right, it was in a pinch. It was in a pinch. And I'll tell you, the fact that he's African-American, probably they wanted an African-American. They wanted a minority, too, I'm guessing. I don't think it's an accident. So they overlooked, they didn't do the normal process they would do for someone else in a normal situation. Yeah. And now that the governor is acting, I don't even know this guy that I appointed. But I do feel bad for the sheriff, and I feel very bad for his wife. I feel bad for them both because his career probably will be done at this point. Because, you know, a lot of times what happens when you're an official and you're forced out, the party will take care of you. But he embarrassed the governor. The party's not going to have much to do with him when this is done. They're not going to help him out. Yeah. All right. Appreciate the call. Well, but you know, I think he's more of a Democrat in name only. You know what I mean? I don't think he's really a Democrat. All right. Take care, Wellington. Thanks for the call. Oh, look who is on the line. Speaking of people with a lot of testosterone, like the Broward County Sheriff at these sexy Miami Beach parties, we have the man who can give you the testosterone that you're lacking, and that's Dr. Mitch Matez. Hey, Dr. Matez.
Hey, good morning, bro.
Yeah, what a transition.
It sounds like a lot of fun, but I think that passed me by about 35 years ago.
Yeah.
However, I may, not appear to be as those people, but I certainly feel like them. And that is because I do, as you know, have plenty of testosterone. We'll talk about something else real quickly, Brian. Just a little public service here. We are to test antibody testing for COVID-19 here.
No.
ID test that you see out there. Be very clear here. This test is available for free, folks. Not this particular test, but there are plenty of tests out there right now. There's dozens. And they're everywhere. And if you want to wait in line or go to a major lab or...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Body, IgG, IgM, for those of
I
you
did
who
block
are
someone
here.
by accident. Happens sometimes.
This is one of the 4 FDA accredited tests. This is through a laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
Your office, you have your own appointment. We draw your blood. We send it to the lab. Within 48 hours, we have an answer as to whether or not you have antibodies. And this will be a legitimate, you can count on the results test.
You know, I saw Madonna had this antibody test, and she's got the antibodies, and she went out partying over the weekend.
And anybody who wants to know this for their own peace of mind, we are able to do it for you, but we cannot do it for free, folks. I have to buy this test.
Yeah.
If you would like to be tested in a very nice, safe, quiet environment, it costs $125, but it is available. You do need to call and make an appointment. You do not need to be a patient. And obviously, it is not a test for sick people. This is not a test to tell you if you have the virus. Please do not call and come in to find out if you have the antibody to the virus.
Oh, okay.
So,
And well, that's okay. Though that's good to know. You hear that, people? So give Dr. Matez a call, 561-953-5490. 561-953-5490, and online, hormone therapy, BocaRaton.com. All right, Dr. Matez, we will talk later in the week. You too. All right, let's finish up with the break, and then we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Break here. Conservative Doug called me up live on the air to tell me about his experience at Friendly Tire.
I had two ball tires in the back of my Infinity. I called them up, and I feel like I always check prices first. Half the price of everybody else.
Half the price? Half the price at Friendly Tire. Wow.
Half the price, and not only that, his tires, which nobody, the tires I was looking at, had any mileage guarantee. His is a 60,000 mile warranty. So they're not only half the price, they're twice as good.
So you're a repeat customer over there at Friendly Tire. You bought new tires, right? So you bought new tires, because they also sell used tires, starting at just $30 for most sizes. But you bought new tires, and they were half the price at Friendly Tire than at the other tire shops around town. That is phenomenal, and came with a 60,000 mile warranty on the tires. That's great. And of course, Friendly Tire, they never charge you to mount the tire, balance the tire, or dispose of your old tires. The price that they give you are out the door and on the road. And
everybody should go there. I don't know how anybody could buy tires.
Oh, I'm sure it was an accident. I block people sometimes, but when you're blocking in a busy chat, sometimes you'll hit the wrong person. It's very difficult to unblock someone on YouTube. It's not that easy to unblock.
Right over the phone, 954-977-9445. Online, friendlytire.net, or you can just
I'm sure it was an accident.
The address is listed at stevekaneshow.com. 5415 Northwest 15th Street in Margate, and that's just a little north of Coconut Creek Parkway on the east side of 441 State Road 7. Well, Conservative Doug, thanks so much, and I'm glad you got such a great deal on your
Oh, if it was on Liberty, that might not have been me. They're moderators over there.
Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just
Oh, man. All right. 8 minutes before the top of the hour of 8 o'clock. My name's Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Lots of great calls today. Not a lot of diversity of opinion, though, on the sheriff. I think most people think, oh, my goodness, this is craziness. Well, you know, I'll tell you, every day that the sheriff doesn't drop out of the race, they're going to have more. They're going to have more. They are not. That's how it's the swamp. He's dealing with the swamp that Trump's dealing with. Except Trump's a squeaky clean Marine. And what this president, I mean, you think about what this president has gone through. President Trump, I love President Trump. I will never criticize President Trump. I'll never disagree with President Trump. I love this guy. And, you know, every day is a boat parade for Trump for me. I mean, I love the guy. And you know what? We're never going to have another president like this ever again. Ever again. You know, the presidency has cost him money and all kinds of other things. Most people get into politics to increase their influence, increase their wealth, increase their power. Donald Trump, kind of the opposite. And he's gone up against porn actresses, Playboy models, right? Foreign agents, impeachment, dossiers, fake Russian dossiers, even a pandemic. And he's still doing so well in the polls. He really is. I saw a story. I don't follow polls, okay? I'm not a poll person. I believe most every poll is a lie, unless Donald Trump's ahead, and then that one's even probably off by 5 or 10 points. But I don't follow polls. I have not followed polls forever. Steve follows polls. He's in the polls. I'm not. I believe all the polls are push polls trying to drive public opinion here and there. But I saw a story today that talked about the approval rating Governor Cuomo has in New York, that Governor Cuomo has a high approval rating. Let me tell you something. If Governor Cuomo has a high approval rating, I'd like to say New York deserves it, but not everybody in New York voted for this guy, nor will they again. How can anyone give Governor Cuomo a high approval rating for the way he's handled the situation in the state of New York? You know, everything positive that has happened in the city and the state of New York during this pandemic is because of the president and the coronavirus task force led by the vice president. They sent the ship there. They sent the ventilators there. They sent the equipment there. They sent the masks and the gear for the first responders. They did that, not the governor. And when you're looking at a state that has the worst of any state out of all 50, why would you look to the governor of that state that led them to be number one in everything negative about this, to be your future in politics for anything. Now, you know, we've been talking a lot about Greg Tony today. We haven't talked a lot about Biden. And, you know, these allegations against Joe Biden, I think most people believe them. But, you know, they're the least of his problems. Biden is a corrupt public official, and he's suffering from severe age-related dementia issues. He's not fit. He's not fit. I mean, Biden, the reason I don't talk about Biden so much is I feel sorry for Biden. I don't like him. I don't approve of him. I always thought he was a sleaze, but he was vice president, and he's a fellow American. I mean, I don't want to see anyone suffering publicly. But would anyone get in a car that was driven by Joe Biden when you see his mental state? And I think the answer to that would be no way. And you're going to turn over the... You know, I remember the first time I heard of Jerry Seinfeld, long before the Seinfeld show, the first time I heard of Jerry Seinfeld, he was doing stand-up on the Merv Griffin show, and Ronald Reagan was president. And Ronald Reagan was he 70 when he took the oath of office the first time? And he was, so I guess he was 78 when he left. And he was president at the time, and I didn't know this was Jerry Seinfeld till many years later because he wasn't famous, and I heard him tell some of the jokes in an act that I heard on Merv Griffin years later. But he did this stand-up routine. He was on Merv Griffin. Anybody remember Merv Griffin? And he was talking about seniors in Florida. He says, my parents, they're from New York. They retired. They moved to Florida because it's the law. Remember, it was part of his joke. This was on the Merv Griffin show. And then he talked about President Reagan. He's like, this guy, he's 70, however old he was at the time, you know, and he has his finger on the button. You know, my grandfather's 70, however old, and we don't let him have his finger on the button of the remote control to the television set. And the audience laughs, ha ha ha, you're so funny. You know, Ronald Reagan was together mentally. Joe Biden, and 70 ain't what it used to be, is it? I mean, look at the president. Joe Biden mentally is not capable of driving a vehicle, not capable of basic cognition. He really needs to talk to Dr. Matez about hormone replacement pellet therapy because it would improve his cognition and other things that he's suffering from. But he's not fit for office mentally or physically, you know. And the sex allegation seems to almost be a distraction from that. The cognitive issues seem to be the big elephant in the room that there's no debate over. The sex assault allegation is an unproven allegation. It's he said, she said. I know most of us tend to believe it because we've seen Biden in action, right, too many times, talking about weird things, doing weird things, touching people, smelling people. We've seen Biden in action, so we accept it because we've seen him in action. But it's still an unproven allegation that we may never know. And I've heard some people talk about Tara Reid weeks ago, conservative people, that she's not as credible as people might think. But, you know, there's a movement to get Biden out of the race, even among the mainstream media and the Democrats, and they're using this. But why is this not only unproven allegation, an allegation that will never be definitively proven? Even if they go through his records and find something, it's going to be an allegation. There's not going to be a photograph. There's not going to be a video. There's not going to be film footage. It's always going to be a debatable allegation that we never 100% know if she's telling the truth or if Biden's telling the truth. But we do know, beyond any debate, that he is not mentally fit to hold any office. He's not physically fit to do the grocery shopping in his home. And I don't say that to make fun of the man. I feel sorry for the Vice President Biden. Okay? But that's something that's not debatable. So why is the whole discussion about Tara Reid, something which will never be resolved, will never be known, will never be factual, as opposed to what we do know about his mental state. Why is that? And MSNBC and other liberals in the media are going after Biden. They want him out. Democrats want him out. Republicans are running with this Tara Reade thing, supporting Tara Reade. Why is everyone in the political establishment and the mainstream media focusing in on a sex scandal, a sex allegation that will never be proven, when we have the cognition issue, which is obvious to everyone and is not even debatable? Any thoughts on that? 1-888-GO-CANE-1. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. Let's take our break for the top of the hour. We'll be right back after this.
Chatting today with Frank, the owner of two magnificent Ace Hardware stores. One, Deerfield Beach, 365 South Federal Highway, about a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough on the west side of Federal Highway. And the other, Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, half a block west of A1A in Lauderdale by the sea. How many years have you owned this business?
I've been in the hardware business for over 40 years, Steve.
If I have a home project that I'm doing, there are so many around the house, that's the big thing today. What's the difference of my experience if I go to Ace Hardware as opposed to these major impersonal chain stores?
Well, there's a huge difference. The basic difference is customer service. We're an old-time fashion hardware store. We have experienced people that are working our stores. Our employees are just top-notch. They're very experienced. They know their business. When you're doing a project, you can come into the store and you can get somebody that knows what they're doing, somebody that will like
scared the shit out of me.
Well, Steve's on his way up. Talking about scary.
Yeah.
You want the cable to be able to plug his head?
If you have it, yeah, in case he brought them.
There are only two that are advertising with the Steve Kane Show. We're talking about the Deerfield location, a quarter of a mile south of Hillsborough Boulevard on the west side of Federal. And of course, the Beach Ace Hardware, located at 232 Commercial Boulevard, a half block west of A1A in Lauderdale.
Hey, you guys heard me use profanity? The guy used profanity.
Locations. Be sure to mention Steve Kane sent you.
95.3 FM.
He scared the crap out of me.
103.9 FM and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
This is Steve Kane for attorney Barry Siegel. Barry did a great job for me and my family when we needed a revocable living trust. Listen to one of our listeners, Ray, talk about his experience with Barry Siegel.
I want to praise Barry Siegel. And one of the most important things about sponsors is integrity. You have to know that you're dealing with an honest person. I had to go up to Myrtle Beach with my sister because her husband died, and I was helping her out. She had a trust and everything. She had not revised this trust since 1997. And Barry says every 3 years at least you got to. I called Barry's office because I had a question. I let the secretary know. I said, I'm calling from South Carolina. I know who was it different.
He's giving up on you. Steve Kane Show.
My sister. Now, most people just blow you.
Did you hear the details with the
I
Tony thing?
heard the last
Oh, I gotta read this. Did you hear me go through the story of the photo?
No.
I'll do it again. You'll like it. It's good stuff.
And he answered, he was very patient. I was quite a while with him.
I got a mini loss today.
But I wanted to say, character is
Which way'd you bring? Come, I mean.
I went this way, but I turned too soon.
It's hard to find. I know it's a little confusing. I come that way.
And you're getting a fair share.
I had no trouble yesterday. Attorney Barry Siegel right now.
It's thrown my whole thing off because my whole morning routine is different than it used to be coming here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
All right. Couldn't find your headset?
They're home.
We should probably just buy you regular headphones because I think you really only need regular headphones. But good. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Radio show. The Steve Kane Show. To call the show toll free, dial 1-888-COCAINE 1. That's 1-888-COCAINE 1.
All right. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. Steve joining us. If you watch the live feed on YouTube Live, you got to hear something you don't get to hear too often. If you lived at home with me, you'd hear it more often. I used some profanity during the break. Oh, my goodness. I know people. Yeah, well, what happened was I was reading something, and I had my back to the door. I was over here reading, and I was zoned out reading an article to talk about. And Rich Allen, who works at the station, came up behind me and said something. I jumped about 10 feet in the air,
Me too.
and I said, "You scared the S out of me." I actually said the word, and so if you go on the YouTube today, you'll actually get to hear me use the S word. Oh my goodness! I guess I can't be sheriff either. Let me go. Can I go through this story that I went through early? Okay.
Good morning, by the way.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning. You're chipper today.
Yes.
Let me find this story here because great. The sheriff of Broward County, he is okay. They are really going after him in the Sun Sentinel, and they got a story today. Although it's in the Daily Mail, I got to pull it up. Hold on, Steve. I'll pull it up. I wasn't expecting to go through this again. Okay. There's been a major update with Sheriff Greg Tony. Okay. The story yesterday was really a story that probably led him to be into a life of law enforcement. He and his brother were being threatened at gunpoint by a man who chased him into his home, and he killed a man in self-defense, saved his life and his brother. That's good. Well, today, the Sun Sentinel, the governor's, I don't even know the guy, I don't know anything about him. The Sun Sentinel has a story that there's some racy photos have been found, and there's a story about the photos. They've not shown the photographs in the media, but can I read you the details of the photographs?
Absolutely.
You'll like this. It involves, nearly naked people, sometimes even naked people. And Sheriff Tony, who's very physically fit, his wife is a very attractive woman. Okay, very attractive woman. Okay, listen to this. This is in the Daily Mail. Tony was photographed posing happily in various unsheriff-like situations. Again, all this was before he was sheriff. Showing off his toned physique with his equally in shape wife, Holly, a registered nurse. The series of 11 snapshots of couple-swapping parties in Miami are accessible to the general public on a website that organizes erotic events and shows the 41-year-old hugging his wife from behind, this is at the party, with his hands cupping her bare breast. And if you've seen the wife, one thing you know about Sheriff Tony, if he's cupping her breast, he has very big hands. Another photograph shows the lawman laughing while lying down as Holly, his wife, places her face on one side of his muscular chest, and an unidentified man places his face on the other side. In yet another picture, the husband and wife are in a foursome posing with another couple. Both women are topless, but their nipples are covered with pasties. There's more. In another snapshot, the sheriff's wife is kissing another topless woman while cupping her breast into her hands. So those are the details. They're not showing us the photographs.
Sounds like old-fashioned American fun to me.
Well, well, everything's consent. Yeah.
When you evaluate pictures, what's porn, what's not porn, in the porn days, we used to do a lot of those shows. These sound within the limits of what...
Someone running for political office?
No, it's not. It's definitely not a plus when running for the law enforcement office.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound that
well, the parties were organized by this. I'm not.
Pictures there?
They're not showing the pictures. They're saying that they are saying
they've been removed from the website.
Some of them, but the media have them. They say they've not printed them because there's questions on who owns the copyright, and the attorney for the sheriff who used the F word in a quote here. Let me see if I can find that story. Hold on, I got so much going on here. Threatened them if they show the pictures. The website where the pictures are, they organize these parties. Membership to the parties is based on physical looks. You have to be hot to be invited to these secret parties. Let me see if I can find the quote from the sheriff's attorney. She said, MFer. Let me see if I can find it here. Well, I'll find it later. But when I find it, I'll read it to you. I would say it's probably going to get worse. All this came out in the period of a day. These are warnings for him to drop out of the race.
Warnings from who?
The Democrat Party establishment in Broward County, because they want Scott Israel to win it.
I think Scott Israel. I see Scott Israel's fine hand behind this.
He denies he learned with the rest.
Well, let's rest my case.
Yeah, but I feel bad for Sheriff Tony. I feel very bad for his wife. Everything was done with, and by the way, they say foursome. No. They took a photograph with another couple. That foursome implies that there's sexual activity. I see nothing here about wife swapping. I see them going to hot, sexy parties in Miami, women wearing pasties and things like this and things like that. Doesn't mean they're wife swapping. So to call him, based on what we know now,
What's the name of the club?
it's a website. I don't want to give out the name of the website, but it's a website that organizes parties at various locations, not a club. They go to parties at Miami Beach hotel pools and things like this.
I mean,
Why do you want to? Steve wants to know if they're open this weekend.
We went through a lot of this yesterday. So
No, this is all new. The photo stuff's all new, and
What
the
I'm trying
parties
to
are
figure
new.
out is, do you think what he did was so terrible that he should lose his job?
Well, he's.
Or not at least. What about just the idea of letting the voters decide?
He can let the voters decide. I don't think he should be removed from office. I think that this is what's gonna happen.
See, if he's removed from office,
He can't be removed for
not-
this.
Well,
Because the governor would have to remove him, even though the governor
and
may
then
be
it would
pissed.
be on us.
It's not anything to remove him from office, but it's something that you got to think about. Should he be running for office? Should he drop out? Because this is what's gonna happen. I'm guessing. Okay, these are all warnings. Drop out. Do the right thing. Right? That's what they're trying to tell him. If he doesn't drop out, the next story will be they'll be interviewing people that were at these parties about their behavior, and you're probably going to find out at these parties there's other things going on other than sexual. You understand what I mean? And him being there's sex parties, Steve. These are in Miami Beach. There's all kinds of weird activities going on at
Other than sexual?
well, drugs. They'll find someone there. I'm not talking about the sheriff, but they'll find people that are questionable at these parties, and they'll start talking to them, and they'll associate him with that because he was there even though he didn't do any of that. Things can only get worse for him. There's no path where the story goes away. And you start getting into parties like this with very good-looking people that are doing these kind of things in Miami. You've got all kinds of questionable people down there, and he'll be at the party. So they'll find some scummy
You
guy.
ever been to a party like that?
No, not like this. I don't do that. No. When I was younger and single, I went to crazy parties, but not a white.
Well, that ever would mean.
No,
that's a yes.
this involves spouses. I would never do anything like this with my wife, but they'll find some scummy people from these parties. They'll do stories on them, and then because he was at these parties or parties put on by the same people, they'll try to tar him with that. Even though he didn't do any of that. So things are going to get worse for the sheriff, not better. There's no way he rides this out. It's only going to get worse. And the mistake the sheriff made, he made a big mistake. I talked about this a week or two ago when it was in the news. He suspended the deputy who's the president of the police union. That was a big mistake. He did that. It was. I talked about it.
Why did he do that?
There were not a lot of details on it, so I don't know. And I talked
Did
to.
he get into an altercation?
I don't know why he. Very, very little discussion of it in the media of why he did it. But I talked to. You weren't there that particular day. You were off. But I talked about that at the time. Foolish decision. That's before all this stuff came out. If the guy's giving you a hard time, he's the president of the union. You ride it out and put up with it because he's in a power position to screw you. And
that's.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, exactly. You want to take some calls? Let's take some calls. You're on the radio. Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Good morning. Yeah, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, well, you need no introduction. This is attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Barry Siegel, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing well. I'm here with Steve. So,
Hey, Barry, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Steve.
well, what is going on in the world of elder law during this coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic we're suffering through?
Well, while it's the same as usual, meaning that people want to take care of the people they love.
I can't turn it up
when
anymore.
I say take care of, it's not just leaving an inheritance.
That's pretty long.
But also making sure that they don't leave a mess for them. And as you think about family, people you love, your spouse, your children, your grandchildren, maybe during this whole coronavirus time, you've gone through old pictures, and you know, you're thinking about the people you love, maybe they're not living nearby. And the last thing we want to do is leave a mess for them. A mess meaning if you don't set things up properly, your family may have to go through the mess of probate, which is a nightmare. What if you, God forbid, lose your mental capacity and you don't have the proper documents in place? They may have to deal with the mess of dealing with a guardianship proceeding, which can be very expensive, time-consuming, and just something you don't want to put your family through. And a judge may end up choosing somebody that you may not have chosen to be your guardian anyway. So there's so many things that you can take care of as a gift to your loved one, simply by just setting up your plan and getting it done, taking care of it, and being done with it. So if you haven't reviewed your estate planning documents in a long time, at least in the last 3 to 5 years, it's a good idea to review.
That's right. Now, it's a good idea for everyone to call Attorney Barry Siegel, but I want to give a special shout out today, Barry, to business owners. Business owners, a lot of times business owners, they're so busy running their business that they neglect taking care of these very important things, including healthcare designees and such. If you're a business owner, Attorney Barry Siegel can do incredible work for you, just like he does with individuals. So give him a call, a free consultation. If you mention the Steve Kane Show, his number toll-free, 855-352-3782. 855-352-3782. And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. All right, Barry Siegel, we will talk later in the week. All right, and we'll be back right after this.
You're stuck in your home and the dog days of summer are coming. It's already happening on the hot days in the late afternoon and early evenings. Your air conditioner is running more and more and may even run constantly, struggling to keep your home cool and hold the temperature that you have it set on. And in some homes, it can't even keep up, losing the battle. And the temperature in your house climbs. And
There was no election. He was appointed.
And to top it all off,
He
your
was
electric
appointed
bill is about to double
by,
or even triple.
he's running
Come
now.
Summer, the cure is reflective and/or blown insulation. Stop the heat gain and
He
cut
can't
your electric
survive
bill
this. It's going to get worse. Believe me, they're going to find some sleaze at these parties. Oh my gosh.
Save 50% on reflective and/or blown insulation.
There'll be sleazy people there. Miami, parties like this.
Kilowatts.com at 954-939-1500. That's 954-939.
Yeah, but you're not running for sheriff.
Cutmykilowatts.com. Put your house in the shade today.
Listen to the Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for WB.
Yeah, people have low standards for radio talk show hosts. Steve said he did things worse than that, but you weren't running for sheriff.
Well, it's a point. I mean,
We used to advertise swingers clubs on the Steve Kane Show.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Disgraceful.
Swingers
Looking
clubs.
back on those days.
Remember that XXX store they used to advertise on the Steve Kane Show?
One with who was the girl with the large breast?
Picture
on the website.
Bianca Trump.
Bianca Trump.
No relation to President Trump.
No.
No, we did a show with Bianca
liked
Trump.
you, though.
No, she did not like me.
The pictures, just put them up on the website and.
No, those pictures. I didn't want to take that picture. We did a.
right.
Steve and I did a personal appearance at a video store with an adult porn star by the name of Bianca Trump.
Bianca Trump.
And we took a picture, the three of us, that you really pushed for because you wanted the picture.
Very lovely, very wholesome.
And she.
Girl next door.
And I remember right before we took the photograph with her, she said to me, "Don't touch him." She was talking about her boobs. I'm like, "I can touch you, yeah, please." I thought that was such a strange thing. She's out of the porn business now. I understand, though.
Really?
Mhm.
I'm curious. I'd be curious. Where does when one graduates the porn business?
I don't
where
know.
Does one go from
Nowhere
there?
good.
That's
Nowhere
a stepping
good.
stone to what?
I don't. Nothing. Nothing really. You're on the radio. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, there you go.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Hey, Brian, it's Scott.
Oh, Scott from Cut My Kill. I mean, everybody's catching me off guard today, going screenless.
How you doing, Scott?
We're talking about the sheriff. All I gotta say is, if you don't want to get your hair cut, you don't go to the barber shop, guys.
There you go. I like that. That's great, Scott. Yeah,
Words
that's a
of
good
wisdom.
one. That's a good one. You should be on the radio.
Electric, give me a call. You want your house to be more cool and comfortable than it's ever been. If you have any issues with your ducts or any issues in your attic, call me because we can clean out your attic, we can put it in the duct system for you, we can put that life-changing radiant barrier in that cuts your electrical 25-30%. Now, we also do blown insulation. You know, you can call me up and tell me what your problem is.
And I'll tell you, if you think that your air conditioning unit is not working properly, your home's not cooling like it should, before you call the AC guy, call Scott at Cut My Kilowatts. Have him come out. He'll do an inspection of your home at no charge, and you very well may find out the problem is not that very expensive AC unit, but it is up in your attic. Right, Scott?
Yeah. Typically, if the AC works good at night, but it doesn't work during the day, you have an insulation problem, you have a heat gain problem. It's not your AC.
Well, listen, give Scott a call. Again, a totally free consultation with Scott. Yeah, and that number rings directly to Scott's cell phone, so he will answer the phone. If you happen to get his voicemail, he'll typically when I call Scott, he's calling me back while I'm leaving the message. So he gets back to you pretty quick. 954-939-1500, and he's got an incredible special going on because of this terrible time we're in. Keep your house cool. Stop wasting. Yeah, that's right. Huge savings. Huge savings. All right, Scott, we'll talk tomorrow. All right. Take care. See, at this new studio, we have more phone lines than we used to have. A lot more phone lines. I don't want to say how many. We got a lot of phone lines. Look at that. So I think that's why the phones have been busier. We've been here a week tomorrow, but tomorrow will be our first full week. And we're hearing a lot of new callers, a lot more callers. I think it's because we have so many more phone lines than we used to have.
Problem.
So you think the sheriff's done? Yeah, I would say
I think when in this county, or in this area, when you take on Scott Israel, you're in trouble.
These are the days I miss Sheriff Nick Navarro. I'd love to hear Sheriff Nick Navarro's comments on Sheriff Tony.
Oh, I can imagine.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I think it would be beyond his realm of belief that a sheriff. But you know, I was talking to a caller in the first hour about this. You know, Sheriff Nick Navarro lost his primary when he was running for re-election. He was primaried out, which was unheard of. And what had happened was there were a lot of activists, mainly gay activists, that went after Sheriff Navarro and cost him the election.
And there was a hurricane mixed in there, too, that had something to do.
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah. It was Sheriff Nick was heading what was Andrew? Was the...
I don't remember.
What's the one that cut down into
Dade? That was Andrew, but I remember him having something.
Andrew, yeah, but he, after the hurricane, he put a crew of men together to go down and rescue people.
Really? I don't remember that.
Trees and all over.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
And because he was, rather than doing electoral political stuff, he chose to go out there,
save lives,
take on the element, and save lives. And
that was all excuses. They
bravery.
They were after Sheriff Nick for a long time. But you know, the reason I bring that up is gay activists were after Sheriff Nick for some things. If Greg Toney, the sheriff of Broward County, was gay and had a husband instead of this beautiful, sexy wife, and he went to gay South Beach parties,
no problem.
It wouldn't even be a thing.
No one would blink.
No, they wouldn't. But so it's what it is. He is a Democrat though, so we can't. I love the governor. I don't even know who this guy is. It's not. And he said it's not like he's my sheriff. I'm like, my gosh, you gave him the job. You appointed. It was a big mistake for it. They did. I'll tell you, they did not.
You tell me they didn't know about it.
They didn't know about the shooting, and they didn't know about this. No, they didn't vet him because they removed Scott Israel a little too fast. They had nobody set up to replace him. And like a lot of Republicans, when someone is black or Hispanic, they get all excited and they don't, look at Michael Steele. Remember the head of the RNC? He's basically a Democrat. A lot of conservatives elevate minorities in conservative positions without really looking at them too closely because they want to, even though he's a Democrat, Tony, I think that was for political reasons because they wanted him to get elected this election, which obviously is not probably going to happen now. But when somebody's black or Hispanic, Republicans get all excited. They don't vet. They push them up because they don't want to look like bigots, especially after Obama got elected. Because I remember before Obama, Republicans used to say all the time, the first black president will be a Republican because we don't care about race and all. And then the Democrats did it. And then the Democrats elevated a lot of minorities. Michael Steele, little Marco and all these people. Just look, we've got minorities too. We got little Marco. We've got Michael Steele. We're just like the Democrat. So people don't get vetted, and that's what happened with Tony. They didn't vet him because they were in a hurry, and because he's black, they wanted to have a black appointment by DeSantis, and DeSantis's people screwed up. But I'm not going to hold it against DeSantis. There's worse things he could. The only thing, if you think about this, this is what Greg Tony's being accused of, right? Saving his life and his brother's life when he was 14 years old against an armed intruder in his home. That's fine. That's a badge of honor, right? And now he's being accused of going with his wife to parties with sexy people that are barely dressed. Oh, okay. I mean, it seems, what is this, the 50s? I mean, it seems a little prude. I don't know. Don't you think? It doesn't seem that big of a deal. It's not even a swingers party, so far as we know now.
Well, I mean, you use your imagination.
I don't know.
What does it sound like? Does it sound like any party you've ever...
No, I've been to some Miami parties, I tell you, yeah, when I was younger. But I'll tell you, it doesn't sound like that party Andrew Gillum had in Miami Beach. I'll tell you that. Now, if this was like an Andrew Gillum situation, there'd be no question. Out. But, you know.
Well, that's because you're homophobic.
No, because he was found passed out on the floor of a hotel room with drugs on a bed with an overdosed gay male prostitute. Those are two illegal
Like
things.
I said,
The prostitute and the drugs. That's two, you know. Could you imagine if he would have become our governor with this going on? If Andrew Gillum, I know, could you imagine?
You wouldn't have kept the nomination from him.
If Gillum would have become the governor, the corona would have still happened, and Florida would be like Michigan in Virginia, shut down till August. He'd be one of these Democrat governors that wouldn't open up the state and everything. We'd be all living in a police state.
Meanwhile, we don't live in a police state, and we're still not open, and I'm still trying to get a haircut.
No haircuts in Florida. You got to go to Georgia.
Gotta go to Georgia.
You got to go to Georgia to get a haircut.
Give me a break.
Well, maybe you could go to the Bahamas. That's closer.
That's an idea.
Yeah, take a day trip to the Bahamas and get a haircut and come back. You can probably get a haircut in the Bahamas. No, now this isn't. You know, the rest of Florida has opened up in the phase 1, and Martin County, which is one county north of where we are now, we're in Palm Beach County. You can go into a restaurant and sit down and have a meal in Martin County and the rest of Florida. Just Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach you can.
You know who keeps careful track of the what's going on with this viral thing or whatever it is? Dr. Janae.
Yeah.
She won't leave her house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. She's...
Well, I would say she may need therapy because leaving your house is okay.
No.
I leave my house all the time.
I'm going to let her explain that to you because it's not really...
It's not rational.
It's more rational than you would think. When she explained it all to me, it made sense.
Makes no sense at all. No, it's not rational.
She still sees patients. I mean, you know, she does the... In fact, she is going to be part of what the new trend is going to be when we get back from all this Michigas. We're going to start doing a lot of doctoring by phone, I think. And especially therapy. I mean, I've had a couple sessions over the phone, and it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need anybody there in person. Although,
I don't agree with that. I think you need to see people. I think a doctor needs to see people. You can tell more in person than you can.
Dr. Janae, if you're listening, call in and tell us about what it's like to do phone therapy or whatever.
Yeah, they call it telehealth.
Telehealth.
Yeah. Well, we got to take a break.
We'll be back right after this.
So you've been told you need a health test. What are you going to have to pay? Health tests can be very expensive. If you go to your doctor's office or one of the big labs, it can cost you hundreds of dollars. Sometimes I haven't had lab tests because of the cost. Then I discovered any lab test now of Coral Springs. Any lab test now of Coral Springs' goal is to get you all the lab tests you need, save you money, and get you in and out in 15 minutes or less. And any lab test now of Coral Springs, you never need an appointment, no doctor's order, or prescription needed either. You can walk right in and have any of their thousands of lab tests done for just a fraction of the price of the big labs or your doctor. doctor's office charge. Give them a call, 954-906-5983. 954-906-5983. Media Test Now of Coral Springs is located on the southeast corner of University and Ramblewood, near the Coral Square Mall. Any lab test now of Coral Springs, private.
It's brighter. The other place was a closet. The other place was like being in a closet.
Yeah. If you suffer from excruciating back pain or sciatica,
I don't miss it at all. I
careful
really
attention to what I'm about to tell you. According to a study in the medical journal Spine, back surgeries to alleviate back pain frequently backfire, leaving the patient in more
This is
pain
Richard
than
Pearl.
before they had the surgery. A second study from the University of Cincinnati
Hey there.
College of Medicine provides clear evidence that 74% of surgeries for back pain fail. But there is an end to your suffering. There's a solution to your problem waiting for you from Dr. Troy.
Yeah, this is Richard Pearl.
Dr. Troy Lemaski is my personal chiropractor, and if the name sounds familiar, it should. He's the brother of Dr. Janae Lemaski. Dr. Troy specializes in the elimination of back pain, sciatica, joint pain. He does it quickly.
Oh, for him, a little bit yesterday. I'll do more tomorrow. I'm just pushing different things on different days. That's your phone. You got to turn it off.
Also provides treatment for the hips, the shoulders, the knees. If you've been in a car
Just hit the
accident,
We're coming back. We're coming back. You don't have time to talk.
You
gotta hang up.
To get back to your old self,
Who's this?
you want to call Dr. Troy. His number 954
We're coming back.
463 3036. That's 954-463-3036. Online at drtroylemaski.com. Tell him that Steve Kane sent you.
All right, Richard Pearl.
Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just search for Doug.
And it is that time to hear from our good friend Dr. Richard Pearl, Simply Natural. Man, if you are into natural health and you want to stay healthy, Brian?
I'm healthy. I was just clearing my throat. Can
Sure.
I'm clearing my throat,
I
Steve.
wanted to double check.
You can still clear your throat today.
I'll send you right over to Dr. Pearl, and he doesn't say could call himself doctor.
He's not a doctor, Steve.
Oh, okay.
His wife may think he's a love doctor.
But anyway, Dr. Pearl.
He's not a doctor.
He's not a doctor. Richard Pearl, how are you doing today?
Your name, Bob.
Yeah.
Good thought. But here's the thing. A couple things, actually. First of all, good morning to everyone. I appreciate everybody who's come to the store. You have a great audience. That so many of these people who listen to you guys, because I meet them. I met an interesting person yesterday. I don't want to single people out, but a primary care guy, and it was just nice. Everybody seems to be really great. That's part of your audience. So let's just bring up a couple things. First off, do you know how lucky we are that the virus won't spread at a grocery store or a big retailer or a hardware store? To spread in small businesses. Did you know that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I know what you're saying. Yeah, the big box stores, they're all open. Yeah.
Why is that? What's the story with that?
Lets you go to the grocery store, the hardware store, but it's demanding mail-in voting. It's not about your health. People need to wake up. If you think this is all about, the virus, it's not. They did not just change the way they're changing the way your behavior is. They didn't just change the way your minds are overnight just about this virus. What they're doing basically is teaching us to distrust our fellow man and to trust the government instead. The government will keep you safe. The government will keep you informed, and you're trading your liberties for a false.
And they will keep you safe as long as you do what they tell you to do, right? That's the yeah.
Deal with your loved one, and you're also allowed to die alone in a hospital in the middle of the night for the betterment of the government. You're allowed to shut down your business. They determine when you can breathe and when you can't. And if you think I'm kidding, just look at everybody with a mask on. They're wearing it outdoors where the virus isn't going to hit them. They have outlawed breathing. And there's no greater good than freedom. But we can't have freedom until some point in the future. And this is a very disturbing thing. We have overnight shifted from our own control of our life to dependent on a 79-year-old man.
Yeah, Fauci. Yeah.
I don't like Fauci at all.
You know, I'll tell you,
Turns me off.
Richard Pro, I went to, I had a bit of a health scare myself on Friday. I haven't talked about it, but I went to, Friday, I went to a nurse practitioner. She at first didn't want to see me because I was wearing a mask that was homemade, which is a fine mask, but it's not a a CDC approved mask. And at first, and I was having my blood pressure went through the roof, was really high.
You didn't tell me.
Yeah, it was very high. And I said, my blood, I'm here because my blood pressure is high. You're making it go higher. You got to see me. And she finally saw me. But there's a lot of liberty being lost, and we're being told to do. And by the way, if you see someone who's doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, you're supposed to report your neighbors now.
Communist countries. It's a real good thing in 1984, the book about that. I carry 1984. I carry Animal Farm too, and A Brave New World to come out of.
Animal Farm is the best and most important book ever written after the Bible, of course. But yeah.
Realize that they're willingly giving up their liberty. I will tell you that I know you're far away from me, but you should come down and talk to me about that, because there's some things I can do for you on that I won't talk about on the air.
Oh, my blood pressure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
mask all day long. If you're breathing in carbon dioxide, it's actually bad for your lungs. And the air, in a sense, is getting infected because you're breathing back and forth stale air. It's not. Don't wear your mask all the time. I know I sell masks. I sell the good ones, but I don't want anybody wearing them all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, Richard, listen, I will stop by, if not this week, by the weekend, because I do want to stop by and load up on my supplements. And
in fact, for all the people in the audience who'd like to get together and chat with you, Richard, you're very generous with your time. Tell them where to go to find you.
Well, I'm on the northeast corner of Sunset Strip at University Drive next to the IHOP. We're right past Wells Fargo at the Bravo Shopping Center. And we're open from 11 o'clock to 9 p.m. I will also say to you this, that we do a lot of things. Dr. Oz was talking about something today about problems with, bleeding, hemorrhaging from this disease. This is something we've known about for a long time, because I have so many first responders who come to our store. It's like they're talking about stuff that I knew about 3 weeks ago. It's just stunning to me how slow.
Oh, yeah. It is not, and it's a great store. Been there for a long time. And you guys hear Richard Pearl. That's right, and you guys hear Richard Pearl every day, and you understand his expertise, his knowledge.
He's terrific.
Oh, no, he is not. But I listen to your show on Saturdays as well. You can catch Richard Pearl on our radio stations Saturday and Sundays at noon. His store is open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And you can give him a call over there if you have any questions, 954-741-4045, 954-741-4045. All right, Richard Pearl, we'll talk tomorrow. All right, take care. Oh, boy, I'll tell you. I'm. It's nice, though, this thing with sorry to the sheriff and all, but it's nice to talk about something that doesn't involve coronavirus for a day. That's an interesting topic. I'm so burned out on coronavirus and COVID-19.
By the way, have you been able to find things like Clorox and bleach and things like that?
I have everything. I've loaded.
You have all of it?
Well, I load up every hurricane season. Months before hurricane season, I start my hurricane supply
Can you
stuff.
sell me a little bleach under the table?
I don't know about selling it to you, but
giving it.
I don't know about the bleach. I'll have to check with
wanna
the
push it
boss.
that much.
I have to check with the boss at home, the wife. I don't know, because we got to get through
Kathy
them.
will have mercy on you.
What do you need bleach for?
I've got parts of my floor that are becoming increasingly difficult.
You're not going to clean the floor.
No, but in the corners that I want to give special attention to, it's
No.
just, you don't want to know.
I don't know. I don't think I do now that you mention it. But I don't know if I have spare bleach, but I'll see. I'll look. No promises.
Clorox, anything like that.
No promises.
Lysol, anything like that.
Oh, no. Now you're getting crazy.
Bleaches and crazy.
Well, Lysol's in short supply, and I need it for the studio and the microphones here. I Lysol the studio in the mornings and the microphones in the mornings because, you know, people use the studio when we're not here. So now Lysol is, it's like, you know what it's like? Lysol is, and Purell, you know, the hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
And Lysol is to society today what gas was to the road warrior. You know what I mean? It's, you know, he had a little gas, a little pan.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know. It's I'll tell you a couple things I'm tired of that are on TV a lot, okay? There's two things I'm tired of. I'm tired of the constant praising of the healthcare workers. Okay? It's enough.
Why?
Enough.
Why? That's bizarre.
And
hostility towards the healthcare workers that are risking their lives to.
No, they're not all risking their lives. Some of them,
risking their lives.
not all of them. A lot of the hospitals are pretty empty, most of them around the country. I'm also tired of these endless commercials on television. We're all in this together. I saw a commercial for one of the big eyeglass chains, like Lens Crafters or something, last night, and it was on national television. It was on ABC. And the optometrist had a mask on, you know, it's safe to do exams here, you know, or, you know, we're protected. And the country needs to move on. We need to get involved in good sex scandals like the Broward County sheriff thing. You know what I mean?
Doing what you can to get it off the ground.
No, we need to, but you know.
Why don't you invite the sheriff in?
Sheriff Greg Tony, you are invited into the studio anytime.
He sounds like my kind of guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know, we were talking, though, about the entire state of Florida, except for Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach, has moved into Phase 1. And Richie, he lives a couple counties north. And he saw in the local news, you know, you can go and sit down in a restaurant in any county in Florida other than Broward, Dade, or Palm Beach. You can sit down in a restaurant and order a meal like a normal person. And come on, it's time to get back to that. We got to move on from all of this business we're in now. And the constant praising of the healthcare workers and the commercials that we're all in this together and optometrists in commercials wearing the masks and all, it doesn't move us forward. It keeps us in this constant state of this.
Well, maybe that's what they're trying to accomplish.
Well, they need to move on from it.
Well, yeah,
Steve Kane Show.
Better safe than sorry.
Hold on. Steve Kane Show.
And you're the reason that this is all dragging out like this because you
Me?
get in the air and you spread,
I'm trying.
don't you realize what you're doing?
I'm trying to get us out of this.
You're not. You're getting us more into it.
You told me to talk about coronavirus, not the sheriff. You told me yesterday. You told me yesterday to talk about the coronavirus updates,
No, I
not
just
the.
thought the sheriff was a one-day story.
Oh no, it's 2 days now.
Was yesterday.
Yeah, no, well, no, we got all new stuff. All the sex stuff came today. That's new.
I didn't notice any sex stuff.
The pictures of the parties with the pasties.
Pasties? Or the sex part?
Yeah. All right, let's take some calls. You're on the radio. Good morning. You're on the radio.
Good morning.
Yeah, speak up.
Take care of that blood pressure. A friend of mine just died. He had a hemorrhage in the brain just because of blood pressure.
Well, actually, what happened was, I'll tell you the story because I don't want people worried.
I want to hear the story.
My wife took my blood pressure at home with one of her machines, and it was very, very high for me. And I don't have a blood pressure issue. About 7-8 years ago, my blood pressure was out of control, and I went on medication. It was fine, and then I took care of business, and I haven't been on blood pressure medication for 5-6 years. And it was very, very high, and it was late Friday. It was around 5 in the afternoon Friday, and it was so high. And going to the doctor at 5 in the afternoon on Friday is difficult. And I didn't want to go to the ER because that's a fortune. So I went to a local nurse practitioner. She took my blood pressure, and it was back to normal, even though I had to argue with her about the mask situation. So my blood pressure is normal now, and it was normal when I went back to. And it looked as if it was a faulty machine, a faulty machine at home. Faulty blood pressure machine at home.
Near-death experience you didn't even tell me about.
No, it was a faulty machine. It was a faulty machine at home. Nothing to report, other than I blew money on the nurse practitioner. Other than that, there's nothing to report. So I'm okay.
Practitioner charge?
This one on Friday night, it was $90. It's cheaper than the emergency room. I don't have health insurance, so that's cheap, man. If I went to the emergency room, it's $1,200.
We have to find a. What do they call them? The
Telehealth.
Telehealth.
Yeah. But anyway, Cole, I appreciate your concern. All right. Take care. All right. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Good morning. Maybe you're drinking your Appletini, Lifeco Appletini.
Is that the
We're
part?
supposed to laugh?
Yeah. This is supposed to be filled with laughter at this moment.
Well, I told you guys 30 days ago that we would see 100,000 people dead, and that Trump was underestimating anything. Now
I had this conversation with you yesterday, Al. Deaths are down. Look at the murder rates nationwide, very, very low. Record low murder rates, car accidents. There are actually fewer deaths, not more, under President Trump.
You find this amusing?
That's true. That's
but
true.
I'm serious. Well, why were you laughing, Al? You think this people dying is funny? I mean, look, you're a Democrat. Anything's possible.
No.
Why did you laugh when we talked about the dead?
You're supposed to be anti-pro-gun.
Anti-pro-gun? We're supposed to be anti-pro-gun? Are you okay? Is your blood pressure all right?
Are you drinking already?
No, I'm saying.
You said that we are supposed to be anti-pro-gun, which means against guns. Is that what are you talking about? That doesn't even make sense.
I think you started chipping away early tonight.
You're supposed to be a pro-life person when it comes to the electric chair, Brian. But
They don't use the electric chair in Florida anymore. Old Sparky has been retired. We use either the lethal injection or gas chamber.
Yeah. And you're against that, which I give you 5 stars for. But when it comes to responsible gun control, you're not for responsible gun control.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know why you're bringing that up, but I'll tell you this.
Because he's desperate to stay on the air.
Well, he'll stay on for a minute.
Anything.
He's got a minute to stay on, but only that because we're going to leave for the Gold Report in a second. But let me tell you this. What's going on during this pandemic should be a message for everyone in America about gun control. The Democrats, they have common sense things. Look at what they've done. They shut down entire states. They're keeping them shut down beyond when they should be shut down. When Democrats take a right away, they never give it back. They always, the stated reason for shutting down the country, what was it? The stated reason. Do you know what it was, Al?
Yeah, to prevent transmission of this.
No. The reason, no. I don't need to hear. No, wrong. The stated main reason for the shelter in place and shutdown was so that the healthcare industry, the hospitals, were not overrun. None of them have been overrun. They're empty. They're empty. So now we're beyond that phase. Why aren't we open? Yeah, why aren't we opened up now? It's because Democrats who want to take our guns, whenever they take rights away, they always take more than they say they want, and they never give them back. All right, appreciate the call.
Not really.
No, we'll be back with the Gold Report.
103 FM, 96.9 FM, 103.9 FM, and AM 1470. WWNN Pompano Beach is the Florida Money Talk Network.
Let's go report
Folks, I'm sitting here today with Attorney Barry Siegel.
What?
Do you have the tissue back there? No.
No, hold on, Steve.
Frank, the owner of Ace
No, I don't.
Deerfield and Beach Ace Hardware,
But don't go far.
family to be protected during the coronavirus pandemic, and has an incredible offer for listeners of the Steve Kane Show.
We get products continually coming in during after the week. We get disinfectants, bleach, gloves, cleaning supplies. Everybody's looking for face masks. So the best thing that we came up with was a face covering. A lot of the cities are going to ask you to cover your face. So we've got a supply of bandanas. I'd love every one of your customers that come in a free bandana just for mentioning the Steve Kane Show. The bandanas are face covering.
Steve, we're coming back.
As we start to go back to work and get out, that everybody's required to have their face covered. So you can use a bandana to cover your mouth and your nose, and aspect to it and protect all those around you.
It's time for the Golden Report.
While you're home, why don't you get that honeydew list done? It's that cleaning project or river supply, or maybe treat yourself to a new grow.
Wow, what a great deal. These bandanas
Now,
are
tomorrow,
awesome because you can
after the
wash
show,
them. So stop into Ace
follow me
Hardware
to Friendly
in
Tires and
Bluefield,
get your
just
tires
south of
tomorrow.
Hillsborough Boulevard on the west side of US 1, and Beach Ace Hardware located at 232
No,
Commercial
use that one.
Boulevard,
Use that one.
Lauderdale by the Sea.
Yeah.
And get your free bandana from Ace Hardware.
Listen
Okay,
to
younger
the
man.
Steve Kane Show on iHeartRadio. Just WWNN.
All right, it is that time we all wait for each day on the Steve Kane Show, the Gold Report, brought to you by William Youngerman of William Youngerman Inc. William, of course, one of the world's leading experts when it comes to the precious metals. He's been advising clients on trends and movements in the gold and other precious metals markets for over 50 years. He knows his stuff. If you were smart enough when he just first started with us to follow his advice, you were doing very, very well by now. And let's just see how things are looking in the gold market today. What is it looking like, William?
Pretty much still stuck in the same trading range we've been in for quite a while now, Steve. Gold is trading in that pretty much 1675 to 1720 resistance area. And we closed out yesterday about 1702.50, which was down 40 cents from Friday's close. Silver was down 19 cents yesterday at $14.75 the ounce. Silver's been on a range of about $14.75
Don't forget Mother's Day.
to about
Mother's Day.
$15.25. That was down 19 cents yesterday. Platinum was up $7 yesterday at $7.66, and palladium was down $44 at $1,776. This morning we got a little bit of a follow through. We tried to rally them over 17 again this morning, but pulling back right now, down $5.30. Gold at $16.9720. Silver up 15 cents at $14.90 the ounce. That's about 115 to 1 ratio to gold now.
Wow.
Platinum up $5 at $7.71, and palladium down $29 at $17.47. So again, gold slightly under the $1,700 number, but still a great buying opportunity. And we'll see what catalyst will be that takes it up to making new highs.
And also, William, tell them about the beautiful things you have over there that would make great gifts for Mom on her day, with Mother's Day coming up. Tell them about it.
Yeah, we certainly have all kinds of jewelry, bracelets, necklaces, charms, everything you can imagine at basically just the gold values. Even have sterling silver items that are quite beautiful and affordable for Mother, and we can give you great prices on all of those items. We also have all rare coins and all the precious metals in stock for immediate delivery. So if you're looking to add to your gold, silver, or platinum positions, come see us.
There you have it, William Youngerman. Drop in today, located at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca. That's the Bank America building. You'll find William on the first floor, directly across from the bank. You can reach him by phone at 1-800-327-5010, or go to the website, museum quality website at williamyoungerman.com. William, we'll talk tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day.
You too.
All right.
We are back.
Yeah, we're back. Oh man, an exciting day. I'm just ready for this stuff to be over. Oh, you know, I did get some messages offline. People asked why I didn't talk about this particular thing, which I'll tell you in a second. And the reason is because I know as much about. I'm like the AOC of that topic. You know, the commie bartender.
You know nothing.
Yeah, the death of Don Shula. I mean, which is a terrible passing.
Don't start. You're going to get us in trouble here.
Why, you don't like Don Shula? You're the one person that doesn't like Don Shula?
Oh, believe
Who
me,
doesn't like Don Shula?
I am not
Steve.
the one person.
Come on.
Try everybody else on the team.
I know you didn't like Dan
On
Marino.
the Dolphins.
Why don't people like Don Shula? Everyone loves him. Did you see the news yesterday? He's being praised all day.
Well, he died. I mean, I could get praised if I died, too.
Don't be so sure about that.
Thanks.
You never know.
No, it's true. I mean, I was in on that. Remember when
The strike?
We had a strike here down here?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
And the players didn't want to go. The reason they didn't want to go out there, the reason they wanted to strike.
Because Don Shula?
They wanted to get away from Don Shula.
Come on.
Who was the guy? The guy he has a bagel shop, Offerdahl.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Offerdahl.
Yeah,
He
I've heard
told,
him.
Offerdahl told me.
I'm sure he appreciates you telling that.
Oh.
Maybe you shouldn't tell that on the air.
Well, John, hey, listen, you know, he's dead now. There's no big, you don't have to cover it up anymore. But
He did have a good hamburger joint.
He had a terrible. He was
Really?
very,
Don
very
Shula had
wretched guy.
Come on. I've never heard a negative word about Don Shula.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this thing about that undefeated season,
Yes.
which is an impossible. It's hard to believe that's so impossible that it's never happened again. Why has there never been another undefeated season? Not for the Dolphins. I mean, for anybody.
So many games. Too many games.
There weren't as many games back then?
No, it was a shorter schedule, as I recall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anybody out there that's into Dolphin trivia, what was it, 8 or 9 games? The regular
No,
season?
come on. Really?
Yeah,
In 72, they only played 8 or 9 games?
Well, then they always had the playoffs. I mean, the playoffs were part
Yeah.
of it, but
Yeah.
it was a much...
Are you sure you don't like Don Shula? Everyone loves Don Shula. I'm glad I didn't bring it up. You know what I think? I know why you don't like Don Shula. Because when you were at IOD and you would attack the Dolphins, they would give you a hard time because they had the Dolphins deal, and the sports guys didn't want you to alienate the Dolphins from
Exactly,
IOD.
And I was rooting for the Strikers.
The soccer team?
No, the Strikers.
Oh, there was the Strikers was the soccer team in Florida, in South Florida. I remember the Strikers. No, I don't follow football too much. I don't know anything about it. But I've never heard anybody say they didn't like Shula. Steve Kane Show.
Overall, said to when you tell me this is...
No, you should. I don't know. You should. It's confidence.
What?
What about confidence? Oh my goodness! If
I
you were
wasn't in
Woodward and
confidence, I was there as a media person, gathering information from my show.
we got Richie the bus driver, who's a big sports guy. All right.
Richie, what's up?
Yeah, good morning. There were 14 regular season games back then.
How many do they have now? What do they have now?
16.
So 2 more games. Yeah.
4 games, but the fact of the matter is, you asked why it hadn't happened again. They're all professionals, you know, and on any given day, anybody could beat anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was more balanced than is now.
What do you mean balance as opposed to? What do you mean? I don't understand.
They were balanced back then. But I'll tell you the big difference in the league. If you take a look right now, if you look at the old Dolphins team, I probably would say 85% white. Today, football is probably 85% black men.
Oh, there. Now you're getting down to the real differences that count.
What does that have to do with there never being another undefeated season?
Let me ask you, Richie, since we can now...
Oh my goodness! What a terrible comment, Richie.
We can comment honestly about Don Shula since he has passed into the great beyond.
Come on.
Richie, what have you heard about Don Shula?
Well, I haven't heard much bad about him. I'll tell you the truth. I know he was a very strict coach. He was son of a so-and-so if you played for him. But he got some...
Most of the complaints I got were from the players.
Yeah, well, he favored certain players. In his older years, he favored Marino, and a lot of them didn't like the fact that Marino was treated differently than the other players, even though he was the big quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, that was my Offerdale story.
No, you shouldn't even tell the story.
What?
You shouldn't even tell these stories.
Why?
Yeah, Richie.
All right, he doesn't want me to tell the story, Rich. I'm gonna...
Tell me off the air.
All right.
Brian's statement, hello?
Yes, you're still there.
Yeah, Brian made a statement that what I said was terrible. But there's nothing wrong with the fact that the NFL is...
No, yeah, we asked why there's not an undefeated season. You say that the league is almost all black now. What does that mean?
Players, that was all.
What does that mean, Richie?
No, there's a total change in the competition today. They're faster, bigger, and stronger. The NFL back in the day, the Shula, when he won undefeated, was almost an all-white league. It's just like basketball. The basketball players today are bigger, stronger, and faster, and better, and they have to be...
Also, the players, the 72 Dolphins were not fast, they weren't strong, and they were mediocre by today's standards. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, but it would be an interesting thing to put them on the field against some of today's teams.
Steve, they're like 80 years old now.
No,
you know, yeah, I don't think they would fare well.
Those, those things they do.
Yeah.
Like they did with
Richie, we're out of time.
The Kentucky Derby.
We're out of time, and we'll be back tomorrow at 6 a.m. Take care, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hey, guys, take care. Make sure you subscribe.